Good morning, my dear friend. As the first light stretches across the horizon and the world is still wrapped in silence, this moment belongs to you and the divine. The air is cool, the earth seems to hold its breath, and even the birds have not yet begun their full song. There is something sacred about these early hours, a window of time when heaven feels closer. When your heart can speak without interruption, and when the noise of yesterday finally fades into a quiet whisper. Maybe you woke up today not out of rest, but from the weight of your thoughts. Perhaps the night felt long and heavy, filled with the ache of memories you tried to forget, or fears that refused to sleep. Somewhere, someone just like you sat on the edge of their bed, staring at the shadows on the wall, wondering how to go on after losing what they loved most. It might have been a marriage that ended too soon, a child they can no longer hold, or a dream that collapsed beneath the strain of reality. In that stillness, when words fail and tears speak louder than prayers, something holy happens. The soul begins to reach for light even when it cannot see it. If that is where you are this morning, you are not alone. Pain does not disqualify you from grace. It often becomes the very doorway through which grace enters. The same God who paints the dawn sky is the one who sits beside you in the dark. The same hands that lifted mountains also cradle your trembling heart. Sometimes faith does not look like triumph, it looks like taking one more breath, whispering one more word, choosing to rise when everything inside you wants to lie down. This time before sunrise is more than just the start of another day. It is an invitation, a holy conversation waiting to begin. Before the rush of the world returns, before responsibilities reclaim your attention, you are being called to stillness. The early morning is where divine whispers can finally be heard again. It is where fear begins to unravel, where guilt starts to dissolve, where the scattered pieces of your mind find their way back into peace. So breathe deeply now. Let the quiet wrap around you. This is your sacred pause, your altar built not of stone, but of surrender. You do not need perfect words, impressive faith, or a flawless past. You only need a willing heart. Open the door of your soul, even if only a crack, and allow light to spill in. Let today be the beginning of something unseen, yet profoundly real, a journey from H to assurance, from heaviness to hope, as the sun slowly climbs and warms the edges of the sky. Remember this: the darkness you walked through did not win. You are still here, still breathing, still loved beyond measure. This morning, let every breath become a prayer, every heartbeat a reminder that you are held. The presence that brought you through the night now waits to guide you through the day. Come closer now, not in fear, but in trust. There is strength waiting to be spoken, healing waiting to unfold, and peace waiting to rest upon you like gentle morning light. Open your heart and step quietly into this moment. The day has begun, and so has your conversation with heaven. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning, before the world begins to stir, I come to you with the quiet ache that has followed me through the night. The house is still, the sky is barely awake, and yet my heart feels heavy with all the unspoken things that live inside me. I am here because I cannot keep carrying them alone. I am here because something in me knows that if I speak to you now, before the noise of the day begins, there might be room for peace to find me again. I am not here out of routine or duty, but because I need you in a way I cannot explain. You see the things I hide behind tired smiles. You know the battles that play out in my mind long before anyone else can sense them. You know the exhaustion that hides behind the words I say to make others comfortable. Some days it feels like I am walking through fog, unable to see more than a few steps ahead. I wake up hoping for light, but my thoughts pull me back into the same questions, the same weight that never seems to lift. Yet here, in this early hour, I am choosing to believe that you are near even when do not feel you. I do not come with perfect faith. I do not come with eloquent words. I come as I am tired, uncertain, fragile. I come with the memories of things that broke me, the people I could not fix, the dreams I let die. I come because I have nowhere safer to go. I come because the world feels too loud, too demanding, too fast. And I long for stillness that only you can give. The night has been long, but I am here at its edge, where darkness begins to thin and morning starts to breathe. Meet me here, Lord, in this quiet place between what has been and what is yet to come. You know the stories I carry. You know the fear that whispers I am falling behind, that nothing will ever change, that maybe I am too late. You know the guilt that clings to me for not being stronger, for not being enough. You know the anxiety that keeps my shoulders tense and my chest tight. I am learning that you are not disappointed by my frailty. You are not distant from my confusion. You are the one who stays when everything else leaves. You are the still point in the spinning world. So I let my guard down now. I let the silence hold me. I let the first hint of dawn remind me that endings are never the whole story. As the sky softens with light, I imagine your presence wrapping around me like a gentle warmth. I do not need to earn this moment. I do not need to prove that I am worthy of your attention. I only need to be honest. I only need to tell you that I am tired of pretending to be whole when I am still healing. I am tired of trying to be unshakable when what I need most is to be real. Teach me how to rest again. Teach me how to breathe without fear of what tomorrow holds. Let this morning be a beginning, a place where I can drop the weight of yesterday and start again with open hands. I want to learn what it means to trust you, not because life is easy, but because you are steady, even when I cannot see what you are doing. I want to believe that you are doing something good, even when nothing around me seems to change. Let something within me begin to shift. You have seen me when I doubted you. You have heard the prayers I whispered half-heartedly, the ones that never made it past my lips. Yet still, you call me to come. Still, you invite me to wake up and speak to you, as if you have been waiting here all along. That thought humbles me. That thought brings a strange comfort to my restless soul. If you are waiting, then I am not alone. If you are listening, then my silence has meaning. This morning I surrender the illusion of control. I lay down my expectations, my timelines, my endless analysis of what might happen next. I give you my unfinished stories, my questions, my fatigue. I give you the people I love but cannot change, the situations I cannot fix, the emotions I cannot fully understand. I give you the fear that, if I stop trying to hold everything together, it will all fall apart. I give you my hands, trembling and empty, because I know that only in emptiness can you fill me. Let your presence be the first thing I feel today. Let your peace settle where anxiety once lived. Let the sound of your quiet strength replace the noise of my racing thoughts. When the sun rises, let it not only light the earth, but awaken my faith. Let it remind me that even the longest nights must surrender to morning, that hope is not lost, but only waiting beneath the horizon. I may not know what this day will bring, but I know you are already in it. I may not have answers, but I have the assurance that you are still writing the story. So I choose to show up here, now. As the light slowly touches the corners of the room, I choose to believe that this small act of sitting in silence, this fragile whisper of prayer, can begin to rebuild something inside me. Thank you for hearing what I cannot say. Thank you for seeing what no one else notices. Thank you for not being impatient with my slow return to trust. I want this morning to be the place where faith begins again. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like the heartbeat that never stopped even when I was unaware of it. Let me walk through this day knowing that you are near, that I am held, and that no shadow is stronger than your light. Keep me close as the day unfolds. Teach me how to walk gently, to listen more than I speak, to choose kindness even when I am weary. Remind me, through every breath, that this quiet meeting at dawn was not in vain. Let its peace linger in every step I take, reminding me that even when I wake in heaviness, you are always waiting in the light. Father, as the light grows stronger outside my window, I realize that silence alone is not enough. My heart still holds too many unspoken things, and they begin to press against me like waves that will not rest. I cannot pretend that they are gone just because the morning feels gentle. The truth is, I have carried these worries for so long that they have become part of how I move through each day. I do not even notice the weight anymore until I stop, until I sit here with you and feel the ache of what I have been hiding. There are fears I have never named aloud. They sit quietly in the corners of my thoughts, whispering that I will fail again, that I am running out of time, that perhaps I have already missed the best of my life. There are regrets that come back at night when I try to sleep, the harsh words I wish I could take back, the opportunities I let pass, the people I did not love well enough. There are moments when I replay conversations, wondering what I could have said differently, how I might have saved what was lost. These memories do not fade with time. They wait for me in the quiet, reminding me that I am still unfinished, still human, still in need of mercy. Lord, I am tired of keeping everything locked inside. I do not want to carry invisible burdens that drain my strength. So here, in this sacred stillness, I begin to name them one by one, like setting stones down along a riverbank. The worry about tomorrow's bills, the uncertainty about my health, the loneliness that follows me into rooms full of people, the fear that my prayers will never be enough. the H of feeling unseen in a world that moves too fast to notice anyone as pain. I place them before you not as demands, but as truth. These are the things that have been shaping my days, stealing my sleep, and dulling my joy. God, help me believe that I do not have to hide what hurts. You are not overwhelmed by my honesty. You are not shocked by the details I try to forget. You see the private battles I fight when no one is watching, the way my thoughts spiral, the way I keep busy to avoid feeling too much, the way I smile while holding my breath. You see it all, and still you call me closer. That alone begins to untie the knot in my chest. I do not need to fix my emotions before bringing them to you. I only need to bring them. This morning, I confess that I am often afraid to hope. Hope feels dangerous because disappointment has visited me too many times. But I do not want to live protected from hope anymore. I would rather risk being hurt again than live without the warmth of expectation. So I open the door of my heart just a little wider and let the light in. I let you see what I cannot make sense of, the anger that surprises me, the jealousy that I do not want to admit, the guilt that comes from wanting rest when others depend on me. These are not things I am proud of, but they are part of me, and I believe you can hold even this without turning away. Sometimes I fear that if I speak these things, I will make them more real, as if silence keeps them small. But the truth is, silence only lets them grow in secret, so I will speak them now, not to magnify the pain, but to shrink it in the presence of your grace. Each confession becomes a release, a slow unburdening of my spirit. The more I speak, the lighter I feel, not because the problems vanish, but because I am no longer pretending to be fine. I am finally honest, and honesty is where healing begins. There is something sacred about naming what hurts. It is not weakness, it is worship. To say, "This is where I am," is to invite you into the middle of it all. I do not need to impress you with polished prayers. I only need to show up with the truth of my soul. When I do, I begin to sense that you are already working beneath the surface, rearranging what feels chaotic, bringing calm where there was confusion. Lord, help me to trust that no burden I hand you is wasted. Even the smallest sigh carries meaning. Teach me to speak not from fear, but from faith, to name what hurts with the confidence that you will meet me there. Let this habit of honesty become my new rhythm. When I feel anxious, let my first instinct be to speak to you instead of spiraling alone. When I feel anger, let me bring it to you before it hardens into bitterness. When I feel lost, remind me that even my confusion can become prayer when I place it in your hands. You know how to turn my scattered emotions into something whole. You know how to take the words that spill out of me and translate them into healing. I cannot always see how you do it, but I trust that when I name my burdens, I am not simply releasing them into the air. I am handing them to someone who knows exactly what to do with them. So as the morning deepens and sunlight begins to warm the earth, I breathe slower. I feel the tension start to ease. My shoulders drop and my heart softens. I am reminded that I am not defined by what I carry, but by who carries me. Every burden I release makes space for peace to settle. Every confession opens the door a little wider for grace to enter. I will not rush this moment. I will stay here until the noise inside quiets enough for me to feel your nearness again. I do not need you to fix everything right now. I only need to know that you are listening, that nothing I say is too small for your attention. In this stillness, I find courage to face the day. The weight has not disappeared, but it no longer feels impossible to bear. Something has shifted, a lightness that feels like trust beginning to bloom where fear once lived. God, let this honesty continue through my day. Let every conversation, every decision, every quiet moment be touched by this truth that I do not need to pretend with you. I can speak freely. I can breathe fully. I can walk forward knowing that whatever comes, I have already placed it in your hands. And that is enough for now. Lord, now that I have spoken what was hidden, the air around me feels different. There is a quiet clarity in my heart, but also a temptation to move too quickly, to stand up and return to the noise before peace has fully taken root. I know this feeling too well, the urge to escape silence, once it starts revealing more than I expected. But this morning, I do not want to run. I want to stay, even if staying means facing the discomfort of my own restlessness. I want to learn how to remain in your presence until my spirit finds stillness again. Father, it is hard to wait when my mind wants to fix things. It is hard to be still when the world outside moves at a pace that makes me feel like I am falling behind. Yet something deep inside whispers that I will not find peace by rushing toward control. True peace lives here, in the quiet surrender of this moment, where nothing is forced and nothing is hidden. I can sense you inviting me to linger a little longer, to let time slow until my heart aligns with yours. The truth is, I do not always know how to stay. My thoughts wander like restless birds, flitting from worry to memory to unfinished plans. Even as I try to focus on you, my mind creates noise. Building lists, analyzing what cannot be solved. But you do not scold me for drifting. You wait patiently, calling me back with the gentlest pull. Every time I return, I realize that you are never far. You do not measure my devotion by how perfectly I focus, but by how sincerely I return. God, teach me how to rest without guilt. I have spent so much of my life believing that stillness is wasted time, that I must always be doing something, producing something, proving something. Yet here in your presence, I begin to see that rest is not absence, it is worship. To sit quietly with you is to declare that I trust you enough to stop striving. It is to say, you are God, and I am not. It is to remember that I was never meant to carry the world's weight on my small shoulders. As I breathe, the light outside softens the edges of the room. I can almost feel it brushing against my skin, a reminder that every new day begins in silence. The sun does not rush its rising. It simply appears when it is time, and the world adjusts to its rhythm. Maybe that is what you are teaching me, to stop forcing dawn before it is ready, to trust the slow work of your timing. I do not need to fill every quiet space with action. Sometimes faith looks like staying seated, breathing, listening. There is a sacredness in waiting that I often overlook. Waiting is not emptiness, it is expectation. It is the place where transformation begins unseen, where roots grow beneath the surface before any blossom appears. If I hurry through this moment, I will miss the subtle ways you are healing me. You are smoothing out the rough places, softening the hardness that years of striving have left behind. You are preparing my heart to receive what it could not handle before. Lord, help me to be present without demanding proof. Help me to stay even when I cannot sense you clearly. I do not need lightning or visions or signs to know you are near. I only need to breathe and remember that the same presence that created the stars now fills the quiet of this room. You are not waiting for me to perform. You are waiting for me to be still enough to notice that you are already here. The silence begins to stretch, but it no longer feels empty. It feels like peace unfolding slowly, layer by layer. My body begins to unclench, my mind begins to quiet, and my heart starts to beat in rhythm with something greater than itself. I am not trying to escape my thoughts anymore. I am learning to let them drift through without fear, knowing that your presence is stronger than their noise. I begin to see that stillness is not about absence of movement, but about alignment, my soul resting in harmony with yours. Sometimes I imagine you sitting beside me, not saying anything, just being. There are no demands, no expectations, only quiet companionship. In that image, I find comfort. It reminds me that I do not have to talk constantly for this to be prayer. Silence itself can be sacred communication. The space between my breaths becomes a form of worship. The slow rhythm of inhaling and exhaling a reminder that you sustain even the unseen parts of me. Father, help me remember this feeling when the day grows loud again. When I am pulled in 100 directions, remind me that I can always return to this place within a quiet sanctuary that exists no matter where I am. Let my heart become a dwelling where your peace lives, not just a moment I visit and forget. Teach me how to carry this awareness into conversations, decisions, and interruptions. Let my calm be contagious, not forced, but flowing naturally from the stillness I have learned here. As the minutes pass, I begin to notice small details, the hum of life returning outside, the faint warmth of the morning light on my hands, the steady rhythm of my own breathing. All of it feels like a language you have been speaking all along. The world itself seems to whisper that everything belongs, that even my waiting is part of the story. The impatience I felt earlier begins to dissolve. I no longer need answers right now. I only need to know that I am seen, and I do. Staying here with you teaches me that peace is not found by avoiding the storm, but by resting within it. It teaches me that strength is not loud, not hurried, but rooted and quiet. It teaches me that faith is not about feeling constant fire, but about remaining in the embers when the flames have cooled. It is about believing that warmth still exists even when I cannot see the glow. So I stay. I stay because this is where I meet myself again, without masks, without noise, without the pressure to impress. Stay because this is where my heart remembers its original rhythm, the one you placed in me long before fear learned how to speak. I stay because even if I do not feel transformed yet, I know that every second of stillness is shaping me in ways I cannot see. Lord, let this moment of quiet be the seed from which the rest of my day grows. Let patience take root here. Let courage begin here. Let trust find its footing here. When I leave this space, do not let me leave your presence. Let it move with me like light following the sun, gentle and unwavering. Keep teaching me that staying is not weakness, but the deepest kind of strength, the kind that listens longer than it speaks, that waits longer than it demands, and that loves long after certainty fades. Father, as I linger in the quiet you have given me, I begin to sense something deeper stirring beneath the surface of my thoughts. The silence that once felt uncertain now feels alive, as if the very air is holding its breath in reverence. It is here, in this stillness, that I begin to remember not the chaos of yesterday, not the ache that clings to my chest, but who you truly are. I have spent so much time focusing on what is broken that I have forgotten the one who has always known how to mend. My eyes have been fixed on the size of my pain, when they should have been lifted toward the strength of your promise. Lord, remind me again of your nature, not just the words I have learned to repeat, but the living truth of who you have always been to me. You are not the sum of my circumstances. You are not the delay, the silence, or the confusion I sometimes mistake for distance. You are constant. You are steady when everything else wavers. You are the same presence that met me in my first breath, the same love that has walked with me through every wilderness. Even when I doubted, you remained. Even when I turned away, your patience never changed. I remember, now, how many times I thought I was at the end only to find you waiting with a new beginning. The doors that closed, the seasons that felt empty, all of them were shaping something within me that I could not yet understand. You were there when I felt abandoned. You were there when the light I depended on went out. You were there when I was too tired to pray. Every time I believed the story was over, you whispered something new into the silence. And though I often failed to hear it, your voice was never gone. God, I do not want my worship to depend on what I can see. Teach you to praise you not only when the outcome is good, but when nothing yet makes sense. Let my heart remember that faith is not the denial of pain, but the decision to look beyond it. When my eyes fill with tears, help me to see through them, to glimpse the reflection of your mercy shining even in the blur. Let me remember that you are not defined by my fears. You define what my fears cannot destroy. When I think of your faithfulness, the weight I have been carrying begins to shift. It is as though the heaviness lifts, not because it disappears, but because I am no longer holding it alone. I remember that you are not simply watching over me from a distance. You are within the very fabric of my being, moving quietly, gently, persistently. You are the whisper behind my courage, the pulse of hope that refuses to die, the soft light that keeps me from losing my way entirely. Father, help me recall the moments when you showed up in ways I never expected, the friend who called just when loneliness felt unbearable, the unexpected provision that arrived when I had nothing left, the sudden calm that washed over me in the middle of fear. These memories are my testimony. They remind me that you are not absent. You are deeply involved, weaving redemption through every thread of my life, even when I cannot see the pattern. The more I remember, the more my breathing changes. It slows, deepens, steadies. My heart begins to release its grip on despair. Gratitude rises quietly, not as noise but as understanding. I realize that even the pain I once cursed has brought me closer to you. The cracks in my soul have become the very spaces where your light has entered. The disappointments have become lessons. The losses have become sacred ground where I learned dependence. The waiting has become the soil of deeper trust. Lord, I want to live with that awareness always. I do not want to walk through this day measuring your goodness by what I receive or by how easy the path becomes. I want to remember who you are even when the path is steep. I want to see your fingerprints in both the beauty and the struggle. Let me carry this remembrance like a compass that points me back to truth whenever I drift. Let every breath I take today echo with gratitude that you are still here. Still good. Still God. Sometimes I forget that you are not only in the miracles, but also in the mundane. You are in the steady rhythm of the day unfolding, in the laughter that interrupts sadness, in the quiet strength that keeps me standing when I want to fall. You are in the sunrise that does not ask for applause, and the heartbeat that keeps going without permission. You are in the ordinary moments that I rush through, the ones that are, in truth, full of divine presence. Help me not to miss you there, God. Restore in me a memory of your character that cannot be shaken by disappointment. Let your goodness be my anchor when everything else feels uncertain. When fear tries to convince me that you have forgotten, remind me of the countless times you have come through before. When doubt whispers that I am alone, let me hear the steady rhythm of your faithfulness beneath the noise. Let every sunrise be a sermon of your consistency. Every breeze a reminder that you are still moving, still breathing life into all that seems lifeless. Even now, I can sense my soul settling into a quieter kind of confidence. It is not loud or boastful. It is gentle. Like the way dawn unfolds without rushing, this peace is not built on proof, but on memory. It tells me that if you have been faithful before, you will be faithful again. If you have walked with me through darker nights than this, you will not abandon me now. You have never failed to keep your promises, even when they arrive differently than I imagined. So I choose to remember. I choose to lift my gaze from what hurts and turn it toward what heals. I choose to remind my heart that you are greater than what I fear, stronger than what I face, and closer than I can comprehend. Let this remembrance become my rhythm throughout the day, a quiet refrain that hums beneath every task. Every thought, every encounter, let it steady my steps when I am unsure, and soften my heart when I grow weary. Father, I'll carry this truth like light inside my chest, that you have always been, and always will be, my constant. My story may twist and turn, but your character never changes. And even when I forget, even when I wander, you remain the same faithful, patient, and endlessly kind. As the morning matures into day, let that truth be the foundation beneath my feet, and the melody within my soul. Lord, the more I remember your constancy, the more courage begins to bloom where awareness once lived. Yesterday's doubts no longer hold the same power they did before the dawn. It is strange how remembrance itself becomes a kind of healing, how looking back on your faithfulness gives me the strength to step into what is ahead. The day now stretches before me like an unwritten page, and though uncertainty lingers, it no longer feels like a threat, it feels like invitation. Father, give me the strength to move through this day with a steady heart. Let me not rush through its hours as though they are something to survive, but treat them as moments to inhabit with intention. Teach me that strength is not found in business or control, but in quiet trust in choosing peace, even when I have reason to be afraid. Help me to stop measuring my worth by how much I accomplish, and instead find value in how much love I offer. There will be challenges waiting beyond this stillness. I can sense them already, the conversations that might test my patience, the responsibilities that stretch my limits, the unexpected news that can shake my composure. I do not ask you to take them away, Lord. I ask for the grace to meet them without losing myself. Let me carry within me the calm of this morning, the certainty that I am not alone no matter what unfolds. Let my reactions be guided not by fear but by faith, not by pride but by compassion. God, strengthen my heart so I may act with gentleness, even when others are harsh. Remind me that I do not need to mirror the chaos of those around me. Let my calm become a quiet witness of your peace. When people speak with anger, let me answer with understanding. When I am tempted to defend myself too quickly, let me pause long enough to remember that dignity is found in restraint. Teach me to walk lightly through conflict, to see every encounter as an opportunity to reflect your patience rather than my frustration. Father, I know strength is not always visible. It is often found in the quiet decisions to forgive when I could resent, to wait when I could demand, to listen when I would rather speak. These are the unseen choices that shape the soul. Help me to live with that kind of hidden courage. When I feel misunderstood, remind me that I do not need to be seen to be secure. When I grow weary, remind me that rest is not weakness but wisdom. And when I stumble, let me rise again, not out of pride, but because I believe your grace has no limit. There will be moments today when I am tempted to retreat into old habits, the urge to worry, to control, to rehearse the worst possibilities before they even happen. In those moments, interrupt me with your presence. Let your peace meet me like a deep breath that clears the fog of anxiety. Whisper into my restless thoughts that I am safe in your care, that my strength is not the sum of my plans, but the fruit of your nearness. Let my first response to fear be not panic but prayer. God, show me how to balance boldness with humility. I do not want to move through this day timidly, nor do I want to rush ahead as if everything depends on me. Teach me the sacred rhythm between effort and surrender, to give my best, but also to release the outcome. Remind me that faith is not a fragile thing to protect. It is a living current that grows stronger as I trust it. Let my confidence come not from certainty about the path, but from confidence in the one who walks beside me. There is a quiet strength in simply showing up with an open heart, with gentleness, with hope that refuses to die. Let me be that kind of presence today. Lord, let my words build rather than wound. Let my actions sow calm rather than confusion. Let my eyes see those who are overlooked, the tired cashier, the anxious colleague, the stranger hiding sadness behind a polite smile. Give me sensitivity to notice them, and courage to respond with kindness. In doing so, let my small moments become holy ground. Father, you know how easily I lose perspective. Sometimes I mistake comfort for peace and success for joy. But real peace, I have learned, is not the absence of struggle. It is the awareness of you within it. Real joy is not found in what I gain, but in knowing that nothing can separate me from your love. Help me return to that truth every time I am pulled away by distraction or fear. Anchor me so deeply in your presence that even when storms rise, I do not drift far from calm. As the morning moves toward noon, I want my steps to echo this quiet surrender. Let me walk without haste, but with purpose. Let my thoughts remain clear and grounded in gratitude. Even when the world presses in, remind me that peace is not a luxury reserved for the lucky. It is the gift you place within anyone who dares to trust you. Let me be one of those people today, steady in heart, gentle in spirit, resilient in hope. Lord, when fatigue finds me later, when the day feels heavier than I expected, remind me to return to you, not in grand prayers, but in small whispers. A single moment of turning my heart toward you can restore what hours of striving cannot. Let me carry that truth into every corner of the day. My strength is not my own. It flows from you. And because of that, I do not need to fear what lies ahead. So I will rise from this quiet space with a heart both humble and brave. I will walk into the day not as one trying to conquer it, but as one willing to experience it fully with gratitude for the breath I am given, for the chance to try again, for the sacred ordinary that keeps teaching me who you are. And though the path will twist and the hours will demand much, I will remember this simple truth. I am upheld, I am guided, I am loved, and that is the strength I need to keep walking forward. Father, as I move forward from the quiet strength you have placed within me, I begin to realize that each moment of the day holds its own hidden invitation. The light, the interruptions, the faces I meet, they are all reminders to see not with impatience or assumption, but through the softer lens of grace. Yesterday, I might have rushed past them, lost in my own thoughts. But now, something in me has slowed, deepened. I am starting to understand that to truly walk with you is not only to trust your presence, but to see the world as you see it through love that refuses to turn away. Lord, help me notice what I usually overlook. Help me to recognize the quiet beauty in ordinary things, the kindness in a stranger's tone, the strength hidden in someone's tired eyes, the unspoken courage of those who keep going despite the weight they carry. The world teaches me to look for success, for evidence, for noise, but you teach me to look deeper, to see the sacred flicker of your image in every human soul. Even in those who do not know how to show it, it is easy to love when I am surrounded by kindness. The real test comes when I face indifference, anger, or misunderstanding. Yet even then, you call me to love not with approval, but with compassion. Remind me that grace is not weakness. It is power under restraint. It is the decision to meet bitterness with gentleness, to answer hostility with dignity. Help me to understand that showing grace does not mean agreeing with wrongness. It means refusing to let darkness teach me how to respond. God, reshape my vision today. When I see others' flaws, let me remember my own. When I feel tempted to judge, remind me how much you have forgiven me. I want to carry that memory into every encounter, not as guilt but as gratitude. The same mercy that lifted me should flow through me toward others. Let my words build bridges, not walls. Let my eyes search for redemption instead of fault. Let my heart choose empathy over pride. Sometimes, Father, it feels impossible to respond with gentleness when people misunderstand or hurt me. The natural instinct is to protect myself, to fight back, to prove that I am right. But you never taught me to win arguments. You taught me to love people. And love, I am learning, is not a feeling, it is a discipline. It is the daily decision to believe that grace can do more than anger ever will. Let me live that truth not just in theory, but in practice, especially when it costs me something. There will be moments today when I will fail. I know it already. I will say something too quickly or close my heart too soon. Yet even in those failures, meet me with patience. Lord, teach me not to drown in shame, but to return to grace, to start again without fear, because your mercy is not a reward for perfection. It is the steady foundation that allows growth. Every stumble can become a lesson if I let humility do its work. So, when I fall short, remind me not to hide from you. Remind me that you never turn away from those who return sincerely. Father, when I look at the people around me, the ones who frustrate me, the ones who inspire me, the ones I barely notice, help me remember that every single one of them is fighting their own quiet battle. Some hide it behind smiles, some behind noise, some behind silence. Let me approach them, not with assumptions, but with tenderness. Let my presence be a small reminder that kindness still exists, that empathy still matters, that grace is still stronger than bitterness. There is a sacred rhythm to living this way, a slower, quieter way of seeing. It demands that I listen more than I speak, that I observe without needing to fix, that I honor the humanity of those in front of me, instead of reducing them to their mistakes. This is not easy, Lord. It requires strength of a different kind, the kind that comes from trust rather than control. So when my patience runs thin, refill it. When my heart hardens, soften it again. When I forget to see through your eyes, remind me gently that compassion is not optional, it is the language of heaven spoken on earth. As I continue through the day, I want to carry this vision into every setting: the workplace, the street, the quiet corners where no one watches. Let my attitude be steady, my tone calm, my presence warm. Let people feel peace when they are near me, not because I have all the answers, but because I have learned to rest in the one who does. If I can offer that peace, even for a moment, then this day will not be wasted. God, show me how to love without conditions. Teach me to forgive without keeping score. Help me to give without expecting anything in return. This kind of grace feels impossible on my own. But I know that what I lack, you supply. I do not need to manufacture love. I only need to remain open enough for yours to pass through me. Let my heart be a vessel, not a fortress. Let my actions be quiet reflections of a greater mercy that is not my own. And when the day grows late, when the sunlight fades and weariness begins to settle again, I look back not with regret, but with gratitude. Let me see how even the smallest gestures, a smile, a patient silence, a sincere apology became part of something larger than I realized. Because grace, once given, never disappears. It ripples outward, touching lives I may never see, continuing a story that began long before me and will continue long after. Father, I know that learning to see through grace is not a one-time revelation, but a lifelong transformation. It means returning to this prayer again and again, asking for new eyes, softer hands, and a quieter heart. So I will keep asking, keep learning, keep surrendering this need to be right so I can be real, so I can be kind. Let be my quiet offering today, a heart that sees the world not as it is, but as it could be when touched by your grace. Lord, as I continue walking in this light of grace, I feel how easily my heart begins to tighten again beneath the quiet pressure of life. It is not the loud storms that exhaust me most, it is the invisible weight of expectations, of worry, of trying too hard to hold everything together. Even when I trust you, I often slip back into thinking that peace depends on how well I perform or how perfectly I manage what comes my way. Yet deep down, I know this is not what you ask of me. You are not calling me to be flawless. You are calling me to be free. Father, teach me to release what was never mine to control. Help me to lay down the burdens I have disguised as responsibilities, the fears I have mistaken for caution, the guilt I have worn like armor. I hold so tightly to what I think I must fix, forgetting that my hands were never meant to bear the full weight of the world. You did not create me to carry everything. You created me to carry trust. So now, in this sacred stillness, I open my clenched fists and give back to you all that has been heavy for too long. There is a strange relief in surrender. It does not mean that problems disappear or that pain loses its edge. It means that I stop pretending I can do your work for you. It means admitting that I am finite and finding peace in that truth. Cannot heal every wound, solve every question, or calm every storm. But I can rest in the one who can. My strength ends where yours begins, and I no longer want to blur that line. Lord, I confess that I often confuse surrender with failure. I think if I stop striving, I will lose everything. Yet what I lose, when I hold on too tightly, is joy. I lose the ability to breathe, to notice the beauty still unfolding around me. Help me to understand that surrender is not the end effort, is the purification of effort. It transforms what I do from anxiety into worship. It teaches me to move not out of fear, but out of faith. Sometimes, God, I wake up already carrying tomorrow in my chest. My mind races ahead to the what-ifs. the unfinished, the unknown. Yet you have never asked me to live beyond this day. Give us this day our daily bread, not tomorrow's, not next week's, just today. There is a quiet rhythm in that truth. It tells me that I am allowed to rest between steps, to trust that provision will come when it is needed, not when I demand it. Remind me that you are already waiting in my tomorrows, and that nothing there will surprise you. Father, take the burdens I cannot name, the silent disappointments, the private fears, the memories that still sting even after years have passed. Take the worry that tightens around my ribs when I think of those I love, the anxiety that whispers I am not enough, the guilt that pretends to be responsibility. I lay them before you one by one. Though some of them fight to stay, give me courage to let them go completely, not just for a moment, but for good. Teach me that letting go is not losing. It is trusting. In moments of surrender, I begin to hear you more clearly. The noise that usually fills my mind begins to fade, and what remains is not emptiness, but quiet assurance. It is the steady hum of peace beneath the chaos, the voice that says, "Be still." And know, it is gentle, not commanding, patient, not impatient. That voice does not rush or threaten. It simply waits for me to notice. And when I do, I realize you are never far away, only hidden behind the noise of my striving. Lord, help me remember this throughout the day. I do not have to earn rest. I do not have to prove my worth by exhaustion. You are not impressed by how tired I can make myself in the name of doing good. What you desire is a heart that trusts enough to rest, a soul that knows when to be still, a spirit that listens before it speaks. That is the surrender you seek, not inaction, but peace-filled dependence. God, when I face moments of pressure today, the deadlines, the misunderstandings, the things that do not go my way, let me pause long enough to exhale and whisper, "This too is yours." Let that small act of surrender interrupt the pattern of panic. Let it remind me that peace is not found at the end of the problem, but in the middle of it, when I choose to trust you instead of my fear. Father, help me to carry only what you have asked me to. I cannot hold on to resentment and peace at the same time. I cannot grip both control and faith. So loosen my hold where it needs to be loosened. Teach me to travel light, not empty of care, but full of confidence that you will handle what I cannot. Let me become so familiar with surrender that it no longer feels like defeat, but like coming home. There is a quiet holiness in trusting you with the unseen. The world rewards achievement, but you honor rest. The world measures success by control, but you bless the ones who release. Let me walk today in the paradox of grace, that the less I cling, the more I receive, that the weaker I admit I am, the stronger your power becomes within me. Let me find freedom not in escape, but in alignment with your will, your rhythm, your peace. And when I forget, as I often will, draw me back gently. Let me feel the tug of your presence. When I begin to spiral, remind me that I do not need to start over. I only need to return. Your mercy does not run out in the middle of the day. It greets me every moment I remember to let go. So even now, as I breathe in this truth, I feel my shoulders ease, my pulse slow, my thoughts settle. Lord, I surrender again, not once and for all, but once more for today. I release what weighs me down, not because I no longer care, but because I finally understand that you care more. I entrust to you the outcomes, the waiting, the unknown paths. Let my life today be an offering of trust, one small act of release after another. And in that surrender, let me discover the strength that comes not from holding on, but from finally letting go. Father, now that I have laid down what I cannot carry, I feel the quiet of surrender expanding inside me like a calm tide. It is not empty here, it is full of peace, as though every anxious whisper has finally exhaled. I did not know that stillness could feel alive. It is not silence that numbs. It is silence that breathes. You have taken the noise that used to echo through my thoughts and turned it into a steady rhythm of trust. I realize now that peace is not the absence of storms, but the awareness that you are in the boat with me. Lord, this stillness does not make the world softer. It makes me stronger. Problems still exist, people still disappoint, and fear still tries to find its way back in. Yet something inside me has shifted. I no longer meet life with clenched fists. I meet it with open hands, ready to receive whatever you choose to give, even if it looks different from what I imagined. Trust, I am learning, is not passive, it is active surrender. It is a quiet determination to rest in the truth that you are working even when I cannot see the work. God, teach me to walk through this day without rushing ahead of your timing. So often, I treat life as a race I must win, not a journey I am meant to experience with you. I measure my days by progress instead of presence. Yet in this stillness, you remind me that there is more to living than reaching the next thing. There is meaning in the pauses, in the slow steps, in the moments that feel uneventful. Help me to trust that even what seems ordinary is sacred when I move through it with awareness of you. There is a soft discipline in trust, a steady rhythm between action and waiting. Sometimes you call me to move, and sometimes you ask me to stay. Both require faith. The movement tests my courage. The waiting tests my patience. But in both, you are teaching me to listen, not for loud instructions, but for gentle impressions, for the quiet nudges that come when I stop forcing outcomes and simply pay attention. Let me not miss your whispers today, because I am too busy shouting over them with my plans. Father, help me walk slower, not with laziness, but with intention. Let each step be deliberate, not hurried. Let me pause long enough to feel the warmth of sunlight on my face, to hear the laughter I might have ignored, to notice the small graces scattered like breadcrumbs along my path. There are so many gifts hidden in plain sight. The taste of morning coffee, the sound of leaves moving in wind, the rhythm of my own heartbeat. These are the sermons you preach daily, reminding me that life itself is a sacred conversation between creation and creator. Lord, when my mind begins to wander toward worry, draw me back with gentleness. Let your presence be the compass that guides my focus. Teach me that trust is not the absence of thought, it is the redirection of it. It is taking each anxious idea and handing it back to you. saying, "Here, this is yours to carry." Let that exchange become instinct, a reflex of the soul that no longer battles to control, but rests in the freedom of faith. I want to learn how to live from this still place even when chaos surrounds me. The world will not stop spinning. The noise will not stop shouting. But I can carry this quiet within me as armor. Not the hard kind that blocks out the world, but the soft kind that absorbs its blows without breaking. Let me become someone who brings calm wherever I go, not by pretending everything is fine, but by embodying the truth that everything is held. God, remind me today that trust is built one choice at a time. It is in the small acts, the refusal to complain, the decision to forgive, the willingness to listen when I want to react. Each of these choices is a brick in the foundation of peace you are building within me. And as that foundation strengthens, fear loses its footing. The storms may still rage, but they no longer define the weather inside me. My soul begins to find its own climate, steady, patient, expectant. Father, I have learned that faith and control cannot coexist. Every time I grasp too tightly, anxiety grows. Every time I release, peace returns. It is a paradox that keeps humbling me. The less I try to manage everything, the more clearly I can see you managing it all. It is in letting go that I gain vision, and in vision, I find rest. Not the kind of rest that comes from escape, but the kind that lives right in the middle of reality, unafraid of what is ahead. This stillness you have given me is not fragile. It is strong. It moves quietly but firmly, like roots beneath the surface of the earth, anchored, unseen, but unshakable. Let my faith grow like that. Father, let it deepen rather than widen. I do not need grand signs or dramatic moments. I only need the steady conviction that you are near, and that nothing I face today exists outside your reach. When my heart trembles, let it tremble in awe, not in fear. Lord, let this peace flow through my actions. Let it color my words, my posture, my tone. When I speak, let my voice carry calm. When I work, let my focus carry gratitude. When I rest, let my stillness become worship. Every moment today is an opportunity to practice trust, to make it visible through the way I treat others, through the way I respond to disappointment, through the way I choose patience over panic. And when I feel myself drifting back toward old patterns, toward the urge to fix, to rush, to worry, let me pause long enough to return to this stillness. Even if it is just one deep breath, one quiet acknowledgement, you are here. That is enough to reset everything. Because in that recognition, the weight of the world fades, and only truth remains. Father, let this stillness not end when the morning does. Let it follow me into the noise of afternoon, into the fatigue of evening, into the restless hours when the mind replays the day. Let me fall asleep not with thoughts of what went wrong, but with gratitude for what stayed right, for your constancy, your guidance, your quiet miracles woven into the mundane. Teach me that trust is not something I visit, it is where I live. As I rise from this moment, I feel lighter, not because life has changed, but because I have. The burdens are still there, but they no longer own me. Fear still knocks, but I no longer open the door. The path ahead remains uncertain, but my heart no longer trembles in its shadow. I walk now in the stillness of trust, knowing that wherever I go today, you go with me, and that is enough. Father, from the stillness you have taught me to carry, I now begin to see how sacred the ordinary truly is. The morning light, the sound of footsteps on the floor, the hum of a day beginning, all of it speaks of you, if I choose to listen. Trust has slowed my pace enough for gratitude to catch up. And now, in the quiet rhythm of daily life, I begin to sense a deeper purpose emerging. It is not grand or loud. It does not ask for recognition. It simply exists in the way small things become holy when they are done with love. Lord, remind me that purpose is not always wrapped in achievement. Sometimes it hides inside repetition, the same chores, the same tasks, the same conversations. Yet if I do them with intention, with presence, they become offerings. The mundane transforms into worship when I bring my heart to it. Folding clothes, preparing food, answering a message, each can be an act of care if done with awareness. You do not measure worth the way the world does. You see value in the unseen, meaning in the routine. God, help me resist the lie that says only extraordinary lives matter. Teach me that your kingdom grows quietly, like seeds under the soil, unnoticed until the time is right. I do not need to chase significance. I need to be faithful where I am. Let me find joy not in what I accomplish, but in how I love through what I do. Even the smallest kindness can shift the atmosphere of a room. Even a whispered prayer can change the course of a heart. If I can live like that, gentle, intentional, awake, then my life will carry purpose far beyond what I can see. Father, I confess that sometimes I still long for something bigger, something visible. I imagine that if I had more influence, more resources, more time, I could make a greater difference. But then I remember that you began the greatest movements through quiet people, the widow who gave her last coin, the shepherd who carried a lost lamb, the carpenter who prayed in silence. You have never needed grandeur to reveal glory. You have always chosen humility as the stage for miracles. So let my small life be enough today. Let me stop comparing my story to others and start paying attention to the chapter I am in. Let me see that my purpose is not ahead of me, it is within me, unfolding through every breath I take in your presence. I am not waiting for my life to begin. It is already happening now, in this moment, in this act of being alive and aware. Help me to honor it as such. Lord, give me eyes to notice opportunities for quiet service. There are people I pass every day whose burdens I cannot see. A word of kindness, a patient tone, a listening ear, these are the miracles I am capable of. Let me not overlook them because they seem too small. In your kingdom, nothing done in love is ever wasted. The unseen is seen by you. The unnoticed is known. The humble act, when done with sincerity, becomes a prayer of its own. Sometimes, Father, I feel as though my efforts vanish into nothingness. I give, I try, I show up, and yet I do not always see the fruit. but you remind me that growth often happens underground, in silence, in seasons when it looks like nothing is happening. Help me to trust those hidden times. Teach me to work not for applause, but from devotion. When I pour into others, remind me that I am sowing into eternity. Even if I never see the harvest, God, let me find purpose in presence. Help me to show up fully wherever I am when I speak, to listen deeply when I work, to give my best when I rest, to truly rest without guilt. Each act, when done with honesty and care, becomes an echo of your creative heart. I was made in your image, not to perform, but to participate, to bring a little more light, a little more warmth into the spaces I touch. Let that be enough. There is a deep peace that comes with contentment. It is not resignation. It is acceptance that what I have today is what I am meant to hold. You will bring more when I am ready, but for now, this is sacred ground. The conversation with a friend, the meal shared with family, the simple joy of breathing, all of it is holy when seen through gratitude. Help me to live with open eyes, to see that I am surrounded by blessings too familiar to notice. Lord, if I begin to forget this truth, remind me gently. When I grow restless, remind me that purpose is not found by searching harder, but by being present longer. When I feel invisible, remind me that you see. When I feel unimportant, remind me that your sun-washed feet, that greatness is found not in height, but in humility. When I am tempted to rush ahead, whisper to my heart, be still. Where you are is where I am. Father, let this day be filled with small faithfulness. Let my words be kind without calculation. Let my actions be generous without expectation. Let my joy be quiet but real. I do not need to shine. I need to reflect. The world does not need my perfection. It needs my peace. And I can only give that peace when I live from the calm center of your presence. As I continue walking through the hours ahead, let every task become a prayer, every breath a reminder that life itself is sacred. Whether I am busy or still, surrounded or alone, let me carry the awareness that you are here, that you are working, that this moment is enough. I do not need to chase meaning. It is already woven into the fabric of my existence. Lord, let my purpose today be simple, to love well, to walk humbly, to stay grateful. If I can do that, I have fulfilled the reason for this day, for every sunrise carries its own calling. And mine, right now, is to live it fully, not waiting for something more, but awakening to the miracle that is already here. Lord, as I rest in the awareness of purpose found within the ordinary, I realize that each day is not only a gift, but also a quiet training ground for perseverance. The peace you have taught me to carry is not fragile. It must learn to endure. Life still brings resistance. People misunderstand. Plans shift, and the heart grows weary under the slow weight of waiting. Yet I sense you whispering through the quiet. Keep going, but go gently. Strength does not always roar. Sometimes it simply refuses to give up. Father, teach me the strength of staying soft in a hard world. Help me to stand without becoming rigid, to endure without becoming bitter. Let perseverance not harden me, but refine me. molding my character rather than my defenses. You did not call me to survive life by closing off. You called me to walk through it with faith that bends but never breaks. When I feel the temptation to withdraw, to numb, to give in to exhaustion, remind me that resilience is not about pushing harder, but trusting deeper. God, give me grace to stay faithful in the middle chapters, the long stretches where nothing seems to change, where the miracle has not yet appeared, and the promise feels far away. It is in those places that faith grows roots. It is in the unseen work that strength is born. I want to become someone who endures not because I am fearless, but because I am anchored. When my emotions waver, let my spirit stay rooted in the truth that you are still working, even when I cannot feel it. Lord, remind me that endurance is not a punishment, it is preparation. Every delay holds purpose. Every obstacle teaches me to lean into grace. Every moment of uncertainty stretches my capacity to trust you more fully. I have wasted too much time fighting the seasons I was meant to grow through. Now I want to face them with a different heart, with patience instead of panic, with openness instead of resistance. If the journey is long, let me walk it with quiet faith rather than restless striving. Father, sometimes perseverance looks like simply waking up and trying again. There are mornings when the body feels heavy, the mind cluttered, the heart unsure of how to keep believing. Yet somehow, you meet me there. You turn small efforts into strength, small prayers into breakthroughs. I may not feel victorious, but I am learning that victory is often hidden in the act of continuing. Let me never despise small steps. Even crawling forward in faith is progress in your eyes. God, help me to find rhythm in endurance, not the frantic motion of one trying to prove their worth, but the steady pace of one who knows they are loved regardless of outcome. Let me rest when needed, work when called, and never mistake stillness for failure. There are times when you call me to move, and times when you call me to wait. Let me not confuse delay with denial. Let my trust bridge the gap between promise and fulfillment. Lord, when discouragement whispers that nothing is changing, open my eyes to the subtle ways growth happens. A seed breaks before it blooms. A tree strengthens through wind. Even my heart learns faith through disappointment. Every trial, every stretch, every quiet endurance is shaping me into someone who can carry blessing with humility. You are not withholding, you are preparing. And when I begin to see my waiting as holy, my patience becomes a form of praise. Father, give me courage to persevere in love. It is easy to grow weary in doing good when kindness feels unnoticed or compassion feels unreciprocated. Yet your love has never been conditional, and I want mine to reflect yours. Teach me to keep showing up, to forgive again, to serve again, to believe again even when the world gives me reasons not to. Let my constancy be a reflection of your faithfulness. Let me be steady not because life is kind, but because you are. Sometimes, Lord, endurance means trusting without evidence. The path ahead remains dim, the answers unfinished, yet I do not need full clarity to move forward. I only need enough light for the next step. You promise that your word is a lamp to my feet, not a floodlight to my future, so I will walk by that smaller light slowly, intentionally, but with confidence. Each step is proof that my faith is alive, that my story is still unfolding. God, help me persevere with joy, not the loud kind that shouts over pain, but the quiet assurance that even in hardship, life is still beautiful. Let gratitude coexist with struggle. Let laughter find its way through the cracks of fatigue. Let hope remain unshaken, not because everything is easy, but because you remain unchanging. The world may test my patience, but it cannot take my peace if I keep returning to you. Father, let perseverance flow not from stubbornness, but from love for you, love for others, love for the calling you have placed upon my life. Let me endure not because I am strong, but because I am convinced that goodness will outlast difficulty, that light will outshine darkness, that your promises are worth waiting for. When my spirit falters, lift my gaze to eternity, where every act of faith finds its completion. And Lord, when I finally reach the end of each day, let me look back not with regret over what I did not finish, but with gratitude that I stayed the course. Let me find peace in knowing that perseverance itself was the victory, that faith held, love remained, and I did not give up. Let me rest with the quiet awareness that even the smallest faithful act echoes in heaven, and that you were present in every breath, every moment, every unseen effort. Father, today I walk forward not with haste, but with holy persistence. I will not measure success by what unfolds, but by how steadfastly I keep trusting you. Let this endurance be marked by gentleness, by grace under pressure, by quiet courage that does not seek attention, but honors you through constancy. And as I move through the hours ahead, remind me that perseverance is not about reaching the end, is about walking every step with faith, knowing you are walking beside me. Father, as I learn to persevere with grace, I begin to realize that true endurance cannot exist without forgiveness. The weight that slows my steps is not always external. It often hides in the heart, in memories that still ache, in disappointments I have not fully released. You have taught me to keep walking, but now you are teaching me how to walk lighter. Forgiveness is not forgetting what happened. It is releasing what keeps me from moving freely. And as difficult as that sounds, I know it is the next door to peace. Lord, help me to understand that forgiveness is not weakness. It is courage, perhaps the purest kind. To forgive means to let go of my right to stay angry, to give up the comfort of resentment, to stop rehearsing pain as proof of my wound. It is choosing freedom over justification. My human nature wants to cling to the hurt, to control justice, to make sense of the unfair. But you remind me that forgiveness does not make the wrong right. It simply makes my heart right again. It heals the place where bitterness was beginning to build walls. God, I confess that part of me fears forgiveness because it feels like surrendering control. I think that if I let go, I will lose the meaning of what happened. Yet you whisper that letting go is not erasing, it is redeeming. It is trusting that nothing escapes your notice, that you are both the judge and the healer. My pain does not need to prove itself to you. You already saw it all. And in that understanding, I find the courage to release those who have wronged me, not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace. Father, There are names that rise in my mind as I speak these words, people whose actions left scars I did not expect to carry. Some hurt me out of ignorance, others out of selfishness, and a few out of cruelty. Yet every time I relive those moments, I give them power over my present. So I bring them to you now, one by one. Take the sting from their memory. Replace it with compassion. Let me see them not as enemies, but as broken souls in need of the same mercy that saves me daily. Lord, help me to forgive not only others, but also myself. Sometimes the hardest person to release is the one I see in the mirror. I replay mistakes. I second-guess choices. I live in regret. But you do not hold my failures against me. You are not counting my errors, you are calling me forward. Remind me that guilt is not a place to live, only a sign to return home. Let me accept your grace fully so I can stop punishing myself for being human. There is freedom, I am learning, in choosing mercy over memory. Forgiveness is not an event. It is a process, a slow unraveling of pain until love has room to breathe again. Each time I choose to release instead of resent, I reclaim another piece of my soul. It is not about pretending it did not hurt. It is about trusting that healing can do what revenge never will. It turns the story from one of loss into one of redemption. Father, I also need your help to forgive life itself, the moments that did not go as I hoped, the dreams that ended too soon, the seasons that felt unfair. Sometimes, I realize I have been angry not at people, but at you, for allowing pain I did not understand. Yet even in that confession, I feel your compassion. You are not offended by my honesty. You meet me in it. You remind me that every unanswered question still leads me closer to your heart. The mystery is not meant to punish, it is meant to purify. God, teach me to forgive daily, as naturally as breathing. When I feel misunderstood, help me respond with calm. When I feel betrayed, help me respond with wisdom. When I am tempted to close my heart, help me remember that keeping it open is an act of faith. Forgiveness does not erase boundaries. It restores balance. It allows me to live freely without bitterness defining my story. Let me become someone who can look back on pain and still see grace threading through every wound. Lord, I know forgiveness is not forgetting the lesson, it is releasing the poison. It does not deny truth, it disarms it. Let me keep the wisdom gained without carrying the weight of resentment. Let my heart remain soft even toward those who never apologized. Let me be free enough to wish them peace, not as a performance of hollowness, but as a genuine act of liberation. Because when I release them, I am also releasing myself. Sometimes, Father, forgiveness feels like a conversation I must keep having. Just when I think I have moved on, something triggers the memory again. In those moments, remind me that healing is not linear. Every return to the wound can be another opportunity to practice grace. Let me not despair at how long it takes. Even slow forgiveness is still holy. Even the struggle to forgive is a prayer you hear. God, when forgiveness feels impossible, let me remember the way you forgive me fully, freely, forever. You do not remind me of my past each time I fall short. You meet me in the present and invite me to begin again. That same mercy is the model I want to live by. Teach me to extend what I receive. Let your compassion flow through me like water through riverbed, washing away what is stagnant, carrying away what no longer belongs. Father, I want to walk lightly into the future, unburdened by yesterday's offenses. Let my hands hold no grudges, my voice speak no bitterness, my heart keep no silent lists of wrongs. Let my forgiveness become a language that speaks louder than my pain. In releasing others, I am not losing justice, I am making space for grace to finish its work. I am trusting that what I let go of, you will redeem in your time. And as I breathe this truth, I feel a lightness in my soul, a space where sorrow once sat now filled with peace. This is what freedom feels like. Not forgetting, but no longer needing to remember with pain. It is walking forward without dragging chains. It is lifting my face toward the light and realizing that nothing has been wasted, not the hurt, not the tears, not the long nights of wrestling. Every act of forgiveness is a seed. And someday, it will bloom into joy that nothing can take away. Father, as the lightness of forgiveness settles into my soul, I feel something deeper awakening, a quiet readiness to be led. It is as if, in releasing what weighed me down, my heart has made room for direction. I no longer wish to steer my life by the map of fear or the compass of control. I want to move by the rhythm of your guidance, not my own urgency. There is a peace that comes only when I stop demanding to know where every road ends, and instead trust that you know the way even when I cannot see the path. Lord, help me to remember that surrender and guidance are not separate, they are intertwined. When I yield to you, I begin to hear you more clearly. The noise of my own plans fades, and what remains is a gentle prompting that feels less like command and more like invitation. I used to pray for clarity as if it were a spotlight, but now I understand that you often guide me like dawn light, increasing gradually, moment by moment. Let me have the patience to walk by that growing light without rushing ahead of it. God, teach me to follow your lead in both stillness and motion. Sometimes you call me to step out with courage, and other times you call me to stay where I am and wait for the right season. Both require faith. I confess that waiting feels harder than moving, because it exposes how much I crave control. Yet you remind me that timing is as holy as direction. A step taken too soon is no different from a step taken in the wrong direction. So I ask not just for answers, but for alignment. Let my pace match yours. Let my heartbeat echo your timing. Father, I have spent so much of my life trying to plan every outcome, thinking that safety comes from preparation, that purpose comes from knowing. But you are teaching me that safety comes from trust and purpose comes from obedience. You never ask me to understand everything, only to listen and follow. Even when the path is winding, even when the scenery changes unexpectedly, you remain the same. You do not promise ease, but you promise presence. And that is enough to keep walking. Lord, there is something profoundly beautiful in realizing that I am not lost simply because I cannot see far ahead. The road of faith is not a straight line. It is a series of surrendered turns. Each one brings me closer, not necessarily to where I thought I wanted to be, but to who I am meant to become. You are shaping me through direction as much as through delay. Every detour I once resented has revealed a lesson I could not have learned otherwise. Your guidance is not random. It is deliberate and loving. Sometimes, God, I struggle to distinguish between my voice and yours. The world shouts. You whisper. My fear demands urgency. Your spirit moves in peace. So when I do not know which way to turn, help me pause until my heart quiets. Let me measure every decision not by comfort, but by peace. Not by success, but by truth. If what I choose brings rest to my spirit and aligns with your goodness, let me move forward with confidence. And if it brings unrest, teach me to stop, to wait, to listen again. Father, remind me that following you is not about perfection, it is about presence. I will make wrong turns. I will misunderstand sometimes. But you are not a distant GPS waiting for me to fail. You are a companion walking beside me, gently redirecting with patience and mercy. Even my detours become part of the journey. When I walk with you, nothing is wasted. Every mistake becomes a moment of redirection. Every delay another lesson in dependence. There is peace, Lord, in knowing that I do not have to force outcomes. I do not need to manipulate circumstances or prove my worth by how much I can control. You are already working in ways I cannot comprehend, opening doors I do not yet see, closing others that would have led me astray. When I release my obsession with certainty, I begin to taste freedom. I begin to live by faith rather than by formulas. I begin to trust that you will reveal each step at the right time, not a moment too early or too late. God, help me to walk through this day with awareness that you are guiding even the smallest details. Let me notice the divine interruptions, the unexpected conversation, the detour that becomes a blessing, the moment of delay that protects me from unseen harm. So often, your guidance hides in what I first call inconvenience. Let me not rush past what is sacred simply because it looks ordinary. Let me live slowly enough to recognize the fingerprints of your direction on everything. Father, there is a humility in being led that my heart is still learning. I am used to being the one who plans, who decides, who moves with purpose. But you remind me that purpose is not something I build. It is something I receive. To be led means to trust even when I do not understand, to move even when I cannot predict. It means accepting that your wisdom is greater than my sight, that your plan stretches beyond the horizon of my comprehension. Let me find comfort in that mystery rather than anxiety. Lord, when I feel impatient, when I want to rush your timing, or question your silence, whisper to me the truth. You have written over all creation. Everything unfolds in season. The sun does not rise early out of worry. The ocean does not forget its boundary out of fear. The trees do not demand to bloom in winter. Each trusts the rhythm you have set. Let my soul do the same. Let me breathe in rhythm with your will, moving only when you move, resting when you rest. God, there is freedom in this surrender, a deep, unshakable freedom that does not depend on outcome. It is the peace of knowing that wherever I am led, you will be there. Even the uncertain roads become holy ground when walked with faith. I do not have to see the entire map to trust the guide. Each step, each moment of obedience, is a declaration that I believe your plans are good. So I walk today not with fear of missing the way, but with gratitude that there is no path I can take where you cannot reach me. Even when I falter, even when I wander, your grace still finds me. And that knowledge releases the last of my striving. I do not need to lead, I only need to follow. For the one who leads me is love itself, and in that love, I am home wherever I go. Father, as I continue to walk under your leading, I begin to see how every step, every breath, and every moment of this life is steeped in grace. Gratitude is rising in me, not because everything has gone right, because I can finally see that nothing is wasted. Every delay, every tear, every unexpected turn has carried me closer to you. I used to think gratitude was something I offered after receiving a blessing. Now I see it is the way I stay aware that every heartbeat already is a blessing. Lord, help me to cultivate a heart that gives thanks not only for the visible good, for the unseen goodness that hides within trials. Gratitude does not always shout. Sometimes it is a whisper that says, even this has purpose. It turns what I have into enough, what I endure into strength, and what I fear into faith. Teach me to wake each morning and look first not at what is missing, but at what remains: breath in my lungs, light in my eyes, love that still surrounds me. Even in the smallest things, your mercy lingers like quiet dew. God, remind me that gratitude is not an emotion to chase, but a discipline to practice. It is the decision to see light even when shadows are long. It is to name grace in the middle of chaos, to hold peace in trembling hands, and to say, thank you even before the answer arrives. Let thanksgiving become my posture, not my reaction. Let it live in me so deeply that it colors how I see the world, so that even hardship becomes a window through which your glory shines. Father, I confess that sometimes gratitude feels difficult. The mind drifts toward what hurts. The heart aches for what was lost. But when I pause, I remember I am still here. I am still held. And that realization itself is grace. The scars I carry remind me that pain has passed through me, but it did not destroy me. What was meant to break me has instead built me. I thank you not only for what you have given, but also for what you have taken, because even in loss, you have made room for something truer, something eternal. Lord, teach me to notice the quiet miracles that sustain my days, the laughter of someone I love, the comfort of ordinary meals, the way morning light touches the walls. These moments are not small. They are sacred. The world rushes past them, chasing grandeur, but I want to linger. Let me not be blind to beauty, because it comes wrapped in simplicity. Let gratitude open my eyes to see that heaven is often hiding in the plain sight of daily life. God, thank you for the people who have shaped me, for those who's stayed, and even for those who left. Both taught me something about love. The ones who stood beside me reflected your steadfastness. The ones who walked away taught me to lean on you alone. Every encounter has been a chapter in the story you are writing through me. And though some of those chapters were hard, none of them were wasted. Every joy and every heartbreak has become a note in the symphony of grace that is my life. Father, Let my gratitude not stop at words, but flow into the way I live. Let it soften how I speak, how I listen, how I serve. Let it shape how I handle disappointment, reminding me that even unmet desires can carry hidden gifts. Gratitude turns complaint into contentment, burden into blessing. When I am tempted to focus on what I lack, remind me that I have already been given more than I deserve. Mercy for my failures, strength for my weakness, love for my loneliness. There is something transforming about thanksgiving. Lord, it changes how I experience time itself. When I am ungrateful, moments slip away unnoticed. But when I give thanks, every second expands with meaning. The ordinary becomes extraordinary because I meet you in it. Gratitude anchors me in the present. It pulls me out of regret for the past and anxiety for the future. It teaches me to dwell fully in now, where your presence is most alive. God, help me to give thanks even for the waiting seasons. They are the soil where faith grows. When prayers are not yet answered, gratitude reminds me that delay is not denial. It teaches me to see waiting not as emptiness, but as preparation. Every silence from you is filled with purpose. Every pause is a chance to deepen trust. So even as I wait, let my heart whisper thanks for what has been, what is, and what will be. Father, I want gratitude to become the language my soul speaks most fluently. Let it echo in my thoughts when I wake and linger, in my heart when I sleep. Let it be the filter through which I interpret the world, not fear, not frustration, but thanksgiving. Because when gratitude leads, joy follows. It reminds me that I am not a victim of circumstance, but a participant in grace. Even in uncertainty, I can be grateful not because I control outcomes, but because I trust the one who does. Lord, may this gratefulness overflow into how I treat others. Let me be generous with encouragement, lavish with kindness, patient with imperfection. A thankful heart does not compete. It celebrates. It does not cling. It gives. Let me carry gratitude like a gentle light that warms those around me. Let others feel peace in my presence, not because life is perfect, but because I have learned to give thanks in all things. God, there will be days when gratitude feels distant, when the world's noise drowns out my awareness of blessing. In those times, help me to return to the simple truths. The sun still rises, breath still fills my lungs, and love still finds its way to me through small acts of grace. Let those reminders awaken thanksgiving again. Even when I cannot find the words, let my heart still say, thank you through the way I keep trusting, keep loving, keep hoping. Father, as I breathe now, I realize every inhale is a gift, every exhale a prayer. Gratitude lives in that rhythm, the giving and receiving, the holding and releasing. It is the quiet exchange that keeps my soul aligned with yours. Let me walk through this day aware of that rhythm, grateful for both the joys that uplift me and the challenges that refine me. For when my heart lives in thankfulness, every moment becomes a place where heaven touches earth, and every breath becomes an act of worship. Father, from the gratitude that now fills my heart, I begin to see that true faith is not loud, it is steady, almost silent. It does not need to announce itself or prove its worth. It simply remains, like light that stays even when the clouds hide the sun. Gratitude has softened my heart, but faith gives it structure. It is what allows peace to endure when understanding fails. I used to think faith was something I had to hold tightly, as if I might lose it if I loosened my grip. Now I know faith holds me, even when my hands are trembling. Lord, teach me this quiet kind of faith, the kind that is not shaken by storms or silenced by uncertainty. The kind that does not demand proof, but rests in trust. Life does not always provide answers in the moment I crave them, and sometimes the silence feels endless. Yet even in that silence, I want to believe you are still speaking, still guiding, still working in unseen ways. Let my faith not depend on the volume of your voice, but on the constancy of your presence. God, faith is not easy when life feels heavy, when prayers seem to echo into emptiness, when hope flickers, when fear creeps in through the cracks of my calm. I am tempted to question whether you still hear me, but faith whispers, He never left. It tells me that absence is not abandonment, and silence is not neglect. It invites me to keep believing, not because I feel certain, because you have proven yourself faithful through every season before. Father, help me to live by faith, not by sight, not because I am blind, but because I am learning to see differently. My eyes recognize what is visible, but faith teaches me to perceive the invisible. Your hand shaping, your plan unfolding, your mercy sustaining. I want to see beyond appearances, to look at disappointment and still believe in redemption, to look at delay and still believe in timing, to look at loss and still believe in life. Lord, I remember the times when everything seemed to crumble, yet somehow I was carried through. I did not see the rescue coming, but it came. I did not understand the purpose, but later it shone clear. Those memories are the stones I build my faith upon. They remind me that even when I doubted, you remained. They tell me that my belief does not sustain. Your goodness sustains my belief. God, let my faith not be dramatic but dependable. Let it be consistent through the small hours, the quiet afternoons, the unremarkable days. True faith, I am learning, is less about emotion and more about endurance. It is not measured by how loudly I praise when life is easy, but by how calmly I trust when life is not. Let me hold on to that kind of faith, a faith that does not fade when answers delay, a faith that lives in the waiting, a faith that breathes in the dark and still finds light. Father, I have often confused faith with certainty, but now I see they are not the same. Certainty demands to see first. Faith chooses to walk first. Certainty insists on logic. Faith moves through love. Certainty depends on facts. Faith depends on relationship. You do not call me to be sure of outcomes. You call me to be sure of you. That changes everything. It turns my questions from fear into curiosity, my doubts from rebellion into prayer. Lord, strengthen my faith, not by removing challenges, but by walking with me through them. I do not need an easier road. I need stronger legs of belief. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to discover how unshakable your promises are. Every test becomes a chance to prove that faith is not fragile, it is resilient. forged in struggle, purified by surrender. Let my trials no longer define my pain, but reveal your power. God, help me trust you even when the story feels incomplete. So much of faith is learning to live within the unfinished. I want to reach the conclusion before the page has turned. But you teach me that hope is born in the middle, not the end. So when I do not yet see the outcome, help me find peace in the process. You are not in a hurry, and I do not need to be either. Faith that is hurried becomes fear. Faith that is patient becomes wisdom. Father, I want my faith to be humble, not demanding. Not performative, but quietly steadfast. Let it show in how I live more than in what I say. Let it be evident in how I love, how I forgive, how I keep showing up even when I am tired. A strong faith does not always look triumphant. Sometimes it simply looks peaceful. It endures without spectacle, and yet its impact ripples far beyond what is seen. Lord, when I feel my faith falter, remind me that doubt is not the enemy, it is the doorway through which deeper trust can enter. Every question I bring to you becomes a conversation. Every fear becomes an invitation to see your heart again. Let my doubts draw me closer rather than drive me away. I do not want a faith built on denial. I want one built on discovery. Let me wrestle honestly but stay anchored deeply. God, you have shown me that faith is not the absence of weakness, but the courage to keep believing through it. It is waking up each morning and choosing trust again. Even when yesterday was hard, it is continuing to sow kindness when the soil seems dry, continuing to love when the world feels cold, continuing to hope when the outcome is unseen. That is faith in motion, steady, human, alive. Father, let this quiet faith become the song beneath every other sound in my life. Let it hum in the background when fear tries to speak. Let it remind me that even if the world shifts beneath my feet, I am standing on the unshakable foundation of your love. Let that be enough. Let my faith today be not in what I can control, but in who you are, unchanging, unwavering, endlessly good. And as I walk into this day, let that faith guide my steps like a steady flame. It does not need to burn wildly to bring light. It only needs to endure. In its warmth, I find courage. In its glow, I find peace. In its constancy, I find you. Father, as faith settles into the quiet corners of my heart, I begin to sense the gentle rhythm of stillness that comes after surrender. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the calm of trust. The storms have not disappeared, yet they no longer frighten me. Their sound has changed, it has become part of a greater harmony, one I do not fully understand but deeply feel. This stillness is not passive, it is powerful. It steadies me when emotions sway and reminds me that your peace is not the absence of motion, but the presence of meaning. Lord, teach me to stay in this sacred quiet without rushing toward noise or distraction. The world demands movement, urgency, and endless doing. But you invite me into being. To be still does not mean to stop living. It means to live differently, to breathe deeply, to listen more, to notice the soft footsteps of grace as it walks through my day. In stillness, I discover that life does not lose its rhythm. It simply aligns with yours. God, In this quiet space, I can finally hear the unspoken things, the fears I had buried, the hopes I had silenced, the dreams I thought were forgotten. You bring them to the surface not to overwhelm me, but to heal me. In stillness, nothing is hidden. You show me that peace is not found by escaping what hurts, but by facing it with you beside me. The still heart becomes strong not because it feels nothing, but because it feels everything and still chooses love. Father, let me not fear stillness as if it were a void. Let me embrace it as a classroom where my soul learns the lessons words cannot teach. Here, patience grows roots, humility learns to breathe, and gratitude becomes a language. In the hush between thoughts, I begin to see how every moment, no matter how ordinary, carries eternal weight. Each breath, each heartbeat, each sunrise becomes a whisper of grace, reminding me I am alive for a purpose beyond my plans. Lord, sometimes I fill my days with noise to drown the ache of waiting. I chase productivity to avoid the discomfort of pause, but I know now that strength is born in the pause. Stillness gives clarity that action alone cannot. It is in the quiet that I remember what truly matters, not achievements or applause, but alignment with you. Help me to choose rest not as withdrawal, but as worship, to see calm not as idleness, but as intimacy with the divine. God, I used to think that being still meant losing time, but you are teaching me that it redeems time. The minutes I spend in silence are not wasted. They are sound. They grow into wisdom, patience, and peace. They stretch beyond this day, shaping who I am becoming. In stillness, I learn that strength is not always seen in motion. Sometimes it looks like staying grounded when everything else moves. Father, let this stillness quiet my fears about the future. When I stand at the edge of uncertainty, teach me to breathe and trust the future is not mine to control, but it is safe in your hands. I do not need to predict the outcome when I know the one who holds it. So I will rest in the mystery, not as one who gives up, but as one who gives over. Surrender is no longer defeat. It is peace wearing a crown. Lord, in moments of stillness, I also learn compassion. I begin to notice others more, their exhaustion, their silent prayers, their fragile hope. When I am not rushing, I can finally see them, really see them. You remind me that love requires attention, and attention requires stillness. Let me carry this awareness into every interaction, so that even in my presence, others might feel your calm. God, the stillness also reveals how fragile I am, and yet how deeply sustained. It humbles me. I realize how much I rely on your unseen strength to rise each morning, to forgive again, to stay kind when the world feels unkind. The quieter I become, the louder your grace speaks. It tells me that I do not need to earn your presence by doing more. I need only to open the space for you to fill. Father, in the rhythm of stillness, I discover the sacred balance between effort and ease. There are moments to act and moments to wait, and both are holy when guided by your hand. Help me to sense that rhythm, to move when you nudge, to pause when you whisper rest. The dance of life is not about perfection, but about timing. And stillness is where I learn to hear the music again. Lord, let this peace seep into every corner of my being. Let it slow my thoughts when they race toward worry, soften my heart when it hardens in defense, and steady my steps when I walk into the unknown. Stillness is not weakness. It is readiness. It is the pause before clarity, the inhale before creation, the space where courage gathers strength to rise again. God, in this stillness, I also sense gratitude blooming quietly, like a flower opening to morning light. Gratitude for breath, for memory, for the unseen ways you hold me together. Gratitude for the people who walk beside me. Even imperfectly, gratitude for the lessons wrapped in waiting. This gratitude is not loud, but it is complete. It fills the room of my soul until there is no space left for fear. Father, let this stillness become my resting place and my launching ground. When I rise from it, let me carry its peace into the noise. Let my words be measured, my heart unhurried, my actions guided by calm conviction rather than panic. Teach me to return to this stillness whenever life grows heavy, to draw from it as from a well that never runs dry. Lord, I realize now that stillness is not an escape from life. It is a deeper entry into it. It allows me to see beauty in simplicity, strength in surrender, and hollowness in the everyday. In this quiet, I am not alone. I am fully held. And in being held, I am free to live, to give, to love without fear. God, as I carry this quiet strength into the day ahead, let it remind me that even the smallest act can hold divine purpose when done from peace. The world may chase the loud, the fast, the visible, but I will choose the steady, the sincere, the unseen. For it is in the still heart that the greatest power dwells, and it is from that heart that light gently spreads to everything it touches. Father, from the stillness you have taught me, I now find the quiet courage to begin again. The peace that once felt like rest now feels like renewal. I realize that stillness was never meant to keep me motionless, but to prepare me for new beginnings. I no longer step forward out of restlessness or fear, but out of reverence. Each new day feels like a blank page that your grace has already signed at the bottom, waiting for me to fill with choices of faith, kindness, and purpose. Lord, help me understand that beginning again does not mean starting over from nothing. It means starting from wisdom built upon every joy and scar that brought me here. There were times when failure made me afraid to try again, when disappointment whispered that hope was naive. But now I see that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward, even with trembling hands. You do not ask me to be unafraid. You ask me to be faithful. And faith, I have learned, is a kind of bravery that grows in the soil of surrender. God, I have carried regrets like heavy stones in my pockets, thinking they would remind me never to fall again. But they only weighed me down. Today, I choose to lay them at your feet. The past no longer defines me, it refines me. Each mistake, once a mark of shame, becomes a lesson in grace. Each closed door becomes proof that I am being guided, not rejected. Let me move forward not as someone trying to fix what was broken, but as someone being reshaped into something new. Father, beginnings are sacred because they carry the quiet hum of possibility. Yet they also require trust, for no one can see the full road ahead. Help me walk into the unknown with confidence not in myself, but in you. I do not need to know where the path will lead. I only need to know who walks beside me. When the way feels uncertain, let me remember that courage often looks like a single step taken in faith. Lord, there is something humbling about beginning again after being broken. It strips away pride and reveals the deeper parts of me that depend entirely on you. It teaches me compassion for others who stumble, and for myself when I do the same. New beginnings are not rewards for perfection. They are invitations for perseverance. Help me accept this invitation daily, to wake with a heart open enough to learn, forgive, and love again no matter what yesterday held. God, remind me that each sunrise is not just light returning to the world, it is mercy returning to my soul. The mistakes of yesterday dissolve in its warmth, and the grace of today rises with quiet certainty. Teach me to meet this grace not with guilt, but with gratitude. Let me see every morning not as repetition, but as resurrection. For every breath that greets the dawn carries the whisper, "You are not finished yet." Father, grant me the courage to begin again, not only in my work, but in my heart. Sometimes the hardest new beginnings are not external, they are the internal renewals. The decision to believe again, to trust again, to love again after loss. I want to rebuild not the life I once had, but the one you are still creating through me. Let me see renewal not as erasing the past, but as transforming it into wisdom. Lord, teach me to begin again even in small ways, to speak kindly where I once stayed silent, to reach out where I once withdrew, to forgive where I once held on. These small acts are seeds of change, and each one planted in faith can grow into something eternal. Beginning again is not one grand moment. It is 1,000 quiet choices that lead my soul closer to yours. God, sometimes I look at the world and feel overwhelmed by its pain and complexity. I wonder how one life can make a difference. But you remind me that courage is contagious. One heart renewed in love can inspire another. One act of faith can awaken hope in someone who has forgotten how to dream. Beginning again is not just for me, it is how light returns to the world, one flame at a time. Father, when I falter on this new path, remind me that even falling forward is still progress. Failure is not final when grace is present. You do not measure my worth by my success, but by my willingness to keep trusting you through uncertainty. When I lose sight of purpose, help me pause, breathe, and remember why I began to live with love, to walk with humility, and to reflect your goodness through the way I rise after every fall. Lord, beginning again requires patience. Because transformation is slow, the seed does not bloom in the same day it is planted, and the heart does not heal in the same moment it decides to forgive. Teach me to honor the pace of growth. I do not want to rush what you are unfolding. Let my courage be quiet, but consistent, a steady flame that endures the winds of change without losing its light. God, I thank you for the gentle ways you lead me toward renewal. You do not push. You invite. You do not shame. You shape. In that tenderness, I find strength that is both soft and unbreakable. Each time I begin again, I see a little more clearly that life is not about arrival, but about becoming. The journey itself is sacred because it keeps drawing me closer to you. Father, may this courage to begin again ripple through every part of my being. Let it transform hesitation into hope, wariness into wonder, and fear into faith. Let it remind me that endings are never just endings, they are doorways through which grace enters anew. And even when the way ahead is hidden, I will walk on, not because I know the destination, but because I know the one who guides the journey. Lord, as I stand at the threshold of what is next, I lift my heart with quiet confidence. The path behind me is full of lessons, the present moment full of grace, and the future full of promise. I will not rush, I will not fear, I will begin again with open hands. Steady breath, and a soul that trusts that every step forward, no matter how small, is already held within the infinite mercy of your love. Father, as I learn to begin again, I realize that every new beginning is also a quiet act of release. To move forward, I must loosen my grip on what no longer serves the soul. You never rush this lesson upon me. You let me arrive here slowly, through the ache of holding on too long. Letting go is not loss, it is trust in motion. It is believing that what I surrender will not vanish into emptiness, but return transformed. It is understanding that peace often begins where my control ends. Lord, help me see that letting go is not a single moment, but a continual rhythm. Some days I release easily, like exhaling after a deep breath. Other days, I cling to what is fading, afraid that release means forgetting. Yet you remind me that love does not die when I release, it deepens. To let go does not erase the past, it frees it. It allows memory to become gratitude rather than grief. You teach me that open hands are not empty. They are ready. God, I have often mistaken control for strength, as if managing every outcome would protect me from pain. But the tighter I grasp, the more I lose my peace. Control exhausts. Surrender restores. Letting go is not a lack of care, but an act of faith. It declares that I trust you more than my plans. When I unclench my fists, I discover that what I feared losing was never truly mine to begin with. It was a gift entrusted for a time. Father, there are people I must release, not because I stopped loving them, but because holding on keeps us both from growing. I used to think love meant staying, but sometimes love means setting free. I entrust them to you, knowing your care is deeper than my concern. Letting go does not mean abandoning it, it means blessing from afar, believing that even distance cannot sever what is eternal in love. Lord, help me let go of the versions of myself that no longer reflect who I am becoming, the self built around fear, the one that measured worth through approval, the one that mistook business for purpose. Those layers must fall away. I am not who I was, and that is grace. Growth requires release, and release requires courage. It is not easy to shed the skin of old stories, but it is the only way to make room for new light to enter. God, I want to let go of the need to be understood by everyone, the desire to explain, defend, or justify drains the soul of quiet confidence. Not every truth needs validation. Not every act needs applause. When my motives are rooted in love, I can rest in knowing that you see even what others overlook. Let me be content to do good unseen, to love without expectation, to give without demand. That is the freedom of letting go, the freedom to live for what is real, not for what is recognized. Father, there are also burdens I carry that are not mine to hold. The weight of other people's choices, the guilt of not fixing what was never mine to fix, the sorrow of what I cannot change, all these become too heavy. Help me set them down gently, not in bitterness, but in trust. You are capable where I am not. You are healer where I can only hope. When I place these burdens in your hands, I do not lose compassion. I regain perspective. Lord, let me let go of the illusion that life must unfold perfectly. Perfection is a prison built on fear of failure. Teach me to find beauty in imperfection, the chipped edges, the uneven lines, the incomplete chapters. These are not flaws. They are evidence of life's honesty. When I accept imperfection, I become more merciful toward myself and toward others. Grace thrives in the space where judgment fades. God, I also want to release the anxious habit of constantly anticipating what could go wrong. Fear is a thief that steals joy before it even arrives. Let me live in the present, the only place where grace truly exists. Worry cannot change tomorrow. It only drains today. Help me replace anxious imagining with quiet trust. I do not need to control outcomes when I am held by the one who shapes them. Father, letting go sometimes feels like loss because it leaves space. Yet that space is sacred. It is where peace breathes. It is where new beginnings whisper. I used to fill every silence with striving, but now I see that emptiness is not void, it is invitation. In that open space, you plant seeds unseen. When I stop grasping, I finally make room for what you are sending next. Lord, there is a tenderness in the act of release. It humbles the heart, but also heals it. When I forgive, I let go of resentment and reclaim my freedom. When I stop chasing what was never meant for me, I find joy that does not depend on circumstances. Letting go turns pain into passage, grief into gratitude, endings into evolution. It transforms what I once feared into what I now bless. God, sometimes the hardest thing to release is my timeline. I want answers now. Resolutions today. Clarity without waiting. Yet you remind me that waiting is part of trust. Letting go of when allows me to focus on how to live faithfully in this moment, rather than obsess over the next. Time in your hands is never wasted. Delay is not denial. It is often divine preparation. Father, as I release, fill the space with peace. Replace what I lay down with what will nourish my spirit. Trade my anxiety for assurance, my striving for simplicity, my fear for faith. Letting go does not mean losing everything. It means making room for the right things. I want to live light, unburdened, aware of how every surrender draws me closer to serenity. Lord, in this gentle process of release, teach me that freedom is not found in having more, but in needing less. The lighter the heart, the clearer the vision, the freer the hands, the deeper the giving. The more I let go, the more I find myself held not by possessions or people, but by presence. And in that presence, There is no lack, only life overflowing in quiet. Sacred abundance. God, as this morning unfolds, I choose to walk with open hands. I release what was, I welcome what is, and I trust what will be. Nothing is wasted when surrendered to you. Every goodbye carries the seed of a new beginning, every letting go the whisper of unseen grace. In this gentle balance between holding and releasing, I discover the truest form of peace. The peace comes not from control, but from complete, fearless trust in your endless love. Lord, as I learn to let go, a new understanding gently unfolds within me, the quiet beauty of things unfinished. It takes time to see it clearly, for my heart once longed for completion, for every question to find its answer, for every story to have a perfect ending. Yet you show me that the world's perfection is not found in what is finished, but in what continues. The unpolished edges, the incomplete paths, the open endings, all are places where grace still breathes. They remind me that growth is not a destination, but a devotion. Father, there was a time I rushed to tie everything neatly together. I feared uncertainty. I feared waiting. I feared the pause before clarity. But now, through the stillness and surrender you have been teaching me, I see that the unfinished is not failure, it is faith still unfolding. What is incomplete is not lacking. It is alive. Like a painting left open to light, every stroke unfinished invites more color, more story, more life. In what is unfinished, your hand is still at work. God, help me see the sacred in the slow process of becoming. We often praise what is done, yet you celebrate what is growing, a seed breaking open in the soil, a heart mending after loss, a prayer waiting for its answer. All are unfinished miracles in motion. Teach me to love the process more than the result, the journey more than the arrival. The beauty of unfinished things lies in their honesty. They tell the truth that we are all still being shaped. Lord, sometimes I look at my life and see loose threads, dreams unfulfilled, prayers unanswered, chapters left half written. I used to see them as signs of imperfection, but now I see them as invitations. Each unfinished part is a space where your presence dwells, waiting for me to trust. If every story closed neatly, there would be no room for wonder. If every question were answered, there would be no room for faith. The unfinished keeps my spirit humble and my heart awake. Father, help me release the pressure to have it all figured out. The world teaches me to seek completion, to fix, to finish, to define, but you whisper that mystery is a form of mercy. The unknown humbles me, reminding me that I am part of a greater design, one that stretches beyond my vision. In that mystery, there is tenderness. It allows me to rest in the truth that I am not the author of everything, only a co-creator walking within your story. God, when I feel the ache of incompletion, remind me that you, too, work through the in-between. The dawn is not the full day, yet it is already light. The note before resolution is still part of the song. The prayer unanswered is still holy. Teach me to see progress in patience, fulfillment in faithfulness, and beauty in becoming. You are not rushing me toward perfection. You are refining me through time. Lord, I think of the people whose stories have touched mine, but were left open friendships that drifted. Words unsaid, endings that never came cleanly. They are unfinished threads woven into my life. And though I once grieved their incompleteness, I now see the grace within them. Some connections are not meant to close. They are meant to echo. They remind me that love, once given, never truly ends. It continues quietly, shaping who I am long after the moment has passed. Father, I see now that even pain can remain unfinished and still be beautiful. Healing does not always come in full. Sometimes it comes in gentle layers. Some wounds will always ache, but they no longer define me. They become part of my texture, part of the light that filters through the cracks. You do not erase my scars. You use them to refract grace. In what remains unfinished, I find the depth of your compassion. God, the beauty of unfinished things also teaches me mercy toward others. No one is complete, and no one should be expected to be. Every person I meet is still in progress. Still learning, still growing through unseen battles. Help me to meet them with patience, to see beyond the surface, and to remember that love does not demand perfection. It honors the process. To love someone is to stand beside them while they are still becoming, without rushing the bloom. Lord, when I feel restless because the story has no clear end, remind me that endings are human inventions. In eternity, there are only continuations. What feels unfinished now may one day reveal itself as complete in your time. I do not need to see the whole picture to trust the painter. I do not need to understand every turn to believe the journey is good. My peace does not depend on resolution. It depends on relationship with you. Father, let me find joy in the work still unfolding, the prayer still whispered, the love still growing, the dream still shaping itself in silence. The unfinished draws me back to gratitude, because it means there is more life to live, more love to give, more learning to do. The story is not over, and neither am I. Each day that dawns is another brush stroke on the canvas of becoming, another chance to reflect your patience and your artistry. God, I want to live with open expectation, not desperate completion. I want to wake each morning knowing that there is beauty in progress, holiness in process, and meaning in every step not yet taken. Help me rest in the assurance that my worth is not measured by what I finish, but by how faithfully I walk the path. Let my soul breathe in the grace of being unfinished, knowing that you are never done with me. Lord, when I stand before the horizon of the day, let me see that even the sun takes time to rise. Its light is not sudden, it grows. It spreads. It unfolds softly across the sky. So too does grace. So too does faith. Let me walk into this morning not needing completion, but content with continuation. Every breath is a beginning. Every heartbeat a promise. Every pause a prayer in progress. Father, in this understanding, I find peace that no perfection could ever give, the peace of knowing that I am still becoming. Still learning, still loved through it all. The beauty of unfinished things is that they remind me of you, the eternal artist, who never rushes the masterpiece. You let each detail unfold at its right time. And in that patient unfolding, Everything, every soul, every story, every morning becomes quietly, endlessly, perfectly enough. Father, as I reflect on the quiet lessons of unfinished things, I begin to notice how you reveal yourself not only in grand transformations, but also in the smallest mercies that shape my days. The sunrise that breaks gently through the gray, the sound of laughter after a season of silence, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, all these whisper that you are near. I once thought miracles had to be mighty and spectacular, but now I see that the truest ones are often hidden in the ordinary, wrapped in the rhythm of daily life. Lord, help me recognize these small miracles with a grateful heart. The fact that I wake with breath in my lungs is not a coincidence, it is grace renewed. The ability to love again after pain, to hope again after loss, to try again after failure, each is a miracle that cannot be measured by sight but by spirit. These are not lesser gifts. They are quiet proofs that your presence still moves through every detail. Teach me not to overlook them, because they do not shout. Let my eyes be trained to see the sacred in simplicity. God, sometimes I wait for you to split the sea, yet you are already parting the fog around my soul. I ask for signs, but you send whispers. I long for breakthroughs, yet you give me small beginnings. The miracle is not only in the answer, but in the endurance, the strength to hold faith even when nothing changes. When I cannot see the entire picture, remind me that the brushstrokes of your grace are already painting hope behind the scenes. Father, how often I have mistaken ordinary days for uneventful ones. Yet it is within the ordinary that you perform the quietest resurrections. The morning light that warms a weary heart, the simple meal shared in peace, the forgiveness that begins as a trembling thought. These are not accidents. They are divine signatures etched into the fabric of life. Miracles are not always about changing reality. Sometimes they are about changing perception, seeing what has always been holy. Lord, help me not to measure your presence by the magnitude of events. The world may chase spectacle, but you dwell in subtlety. The whisper to be still, the nudge to be kind, the moment of calm amid chaos, all are sacred encounters. Teach me that faith is not the absence of struggle, but the awareness of grace within it. The small miracles of peace, patience, and quiet courage often sustain me more than the thunderous answers I once demanded. God, I remember the times you answered prayers not with dramatic deliverance, but with quiet redirection. You did not remove the storm. You steadied my heart within it. You did not erase the mountain. You gave me the strength to climb. And when I grew weary, you sent unexpected encouragement, a smile, a message, a moment of light that reminded me I was not alone. These are the subtle fingerprints of your faithfulness. I may not always see your hand, but I always feel your steadiness. Father, miracles are not confined moments, they dwell in attitudes, in choices, in the small daily acts that align me with your will. Choosing forgiveness over resentment, peace over panic, generosity over fear, each is a divine intervention of the soul. Help me to celebrate these victories quietly, without fanfare, for their power lies in transformation unseen. When I choose to love where bitterness once lived, That is a miracle greater than any spectacle. Lord, there are miracles too in the people you place around, the friend who listens without judgment, the child who laughs without fear, the elder whose faith endures despite pain. Their lives remind me that miracles walk among us clothed in human form. When compassion stirs, when love bridges divides, when kindness softens the hardest heart, these are living proofs that your spirit still breathes through creation. God, I do not want to rush through days waiting for something extraordinary while missing the sacred ordinary. The miracle is often not in what happens, but in how I receive it with gratitude, awareness, and wonder. Help me to slow down enough to notice the fragrance of morning air, the softness of forgiveness, the rhythm of breath that sustains me without my asking. Gratitude turns moments into miracles. The more I thank you, the more I see that everything is touched by grace. Father, when I grow weary and wonder whether my prayers make any difference, remind me of the countless quiet mercies that have already carried me. The nights I should have broken but did not, the tears that turned to laughter, the closed doors that became redirections, all were answers in disguise. Even when I did not see the miracle, I was walking within it. Every breath of endurance, every flicker of hope, was proof that you were at work. Lord, help me share this awareness with others to remind them that the miraculous is not far away, but right here. It is in the courage to rise again, the humility to apologize, the faith to keep believing when logic says no. The world measures greatness by noise, but heaven measures it by faithfulness. Let me become a witness to your quiet wonders, not through preaching, but through presence. Let my peace become testimony, my gratitude a living prayer. God, I see now that the small miracles are not small at all. They are threads that hold the soul together, gentle yet unbreakable. They turn despair into discipline, loneliness into longing, waiting into worship. The world may overlook them, but the heart attuned to grace cannot. The more I open my eyes, the more I see that I am surrounded by wonder, the kind that does not demand proof, because it is already self-evident in the breath. The sunrise, the heartbeat. Father, let my faith mature enough to no longer chase signs, but to become one. Let my life be a quiet miracle, to others a light, does not blind but guides. A calm that reminds them that love still reigns. Every smile given, every hand held, every prayer whispered is a seed of hope that you will make bloom in time. The miracle is not only in receiving, but in giving. Not only in seeing, but in believing even when I cannot. Lord, as this day unfolds, I choose to walk slowly, to notice deeply, to give thanks for every simple mercy. For it is in these that I meet you most clearly, not in thunder, but in whisper, not in might, but in meaning. The gift of small miracles is not that they change the world around me, but that they change the world within me, turning each ordinary moment into sacred ground, each heartbeat into a silent hymn of unending gratitude. Father, after seeing the beauty of small miracles that breathe through the rhythm of daily life, I find myself drawn into the deeper quiet that follows gratitude, the sacred silence, where words no longer need to explain what the heart already understands. It is in this stillness that I feel you most intimately, not through sound, but through presence. The world is full of noise, endless opinions, endless striving, but in the silence, there is only truth. It hums softly beneath the chaos, steady and eternal, reminding me that your voice is often not a shout, but a whisper that meets the soul in the spaces between thoughts. Lord, teach me to love this silence, not as emptiness, but as communion. In the quiet, I begin to hear what cannot be heard by the ear. The rhythm of my heartbeat, the pulse of life you sustain within me, the subtle movements of grace weaving through every breath. I used to fear silence because it felt like absence. But now I know it is abundance, a sacred pause where you speak without words. In that hush, I no longer ask. I listen. I no longer plead. I rest. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of peace. God, I confess that stillness does not come easily. My mind races, my heart worries, my spirit tries to control. I fill the space with thoughts, prayers, even holy words, afraid that if I stop speaking, I will lose connection. Yet you remind me that silence is not distance, it is depth, like a deep ocean where the surface is restless, but the depths are calm. Silence invites me below the noise into the quiet, where faith becomes knowing. It is here that I rediscover who I am when I am not performing for the world, when I am simply yours. Father, in the silence, I remember that I am enough not because of what I do or say, but because I exist in you. I do not have to earn your love through eloquence or effort. It is already mine, steady as the breath that sustains me. The silence holds that truth until I can hold it for myself. When I quiet the clamor of comparison and self-doubt, I begin to recognize the voice of grace that has been speaking all along. It tells me, you are loved, you are seen, you are safe. Lord, silence is where clarity begins. It is where confusion dissolves and direction emerges, not from reasoning but from revelation. The answers I seek are often already written in my heart, waiting to be read in stillness. Teach me to trust that I do not always need to understand. Sometimes I just need to be still enough to receive. When I stop forcing meaning, truth gently rises like light breaking through fog. The silence does not hide wisdom, it delivers it in the most humble way possible. Softly, God, the strength found in silence is unlike any strength the world teaches. It is not loud or proud. It does not demand or defend. It is quiet resilience, the kind that endures storms without losing peace. The oak tree does not shout as it grows. It deepens its roots in silence. The sunrise does not announce itself. It simply appears, steady and certain. Teach me to draw from that same source of quiet strength, to be firm in faith but gentle in spirit, to act with conviction without the need to prove. Father, silence has also taught me compassion. When I listen without rushing to respond, I begin to hear not only words but hearts. Every person carries a noise inside them, a mixture of fear, hope, and longing, and true love listens through the noise to the soul beneath. Let me become a presence of calm in a world addicted to volume. Let my stillness become sanctuary for those who are weary, a reminder that peace is possible even when the world is loud. Lord, I find that silence heals what words cannot. It holds space for grief without demanding explanation. It allows tears to speak, wounds to breathe, hearts to rest. There are moments when all I can do is sit quietly before you, not knowing what to pray, and yet somehow that is the purest prayer of all. For silence, when surrendered, becomes worship. It says, I trust you even without words. I believe you even without understanding. I love you even without answers. God, help me bring this stillness into every part of my life. Let my speech be slower, my responses kinder, my actions more thoughtful. Silence before speaking guards truth. Silence after speaking guards peace. In a world that values the loudest voice, make me one who values the truest one. May I never confuse noise with influence or haste with purpose. The quiet soul moves mountains, not by shouting, but by standing rooted in grace. Father, silence also renews my strength to face the world again. It is like stepping into a calm river after a long journey through dust and noise. In it, I wash off the weariness of striving and emerge lighter, clearer, more whole. The stillness does not isolate, it prepares. It centers me so that when I return to the noise, I carry peace with me instead of being carried away by chaos. The silence inside becomes a refuge, can return to it any moment, no matter where I am. Lord, I thank you for the paradox of this gift, that what seems like emptiness is actually fullness, that what seems passive is profoundly powerful. In silence, I do nothing, yet everything is renewed. My heart realigns with truth, my spirit regains balance, and my faith deepens without effort. This quiet strength cannot be taken by circumstance, because it does not depend on circumstance. It is born of surrender, not striving. God, the more I dwell in this stillness, the more I understand that silence is not an escape from life, but a return to it. It teaches me how to move differently, to act without anxiety, to speak with intention, to listen without impatience. The silence becomes the pulse beneath all I do, a steady rhythm that reminds me I am sustained by something greater than myself. Father, in the end, it is not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet of the heart where I truly meet you. When the world demands reaction, I will choose reflection. When others shout, I will choose to hear. When life feels too loud, I will return to the sacred silence that restores all things. In that stillness, I am reminded once again that strength is not found in control or assertion, but in surrender and trusting the peace that does not need to announce itself to be real. Lord, let this silence become the soil where my soul continues to grow. Let it steady my hands for kindness, soften my words with wisdom, and anchor my heart in peace that cannot be shaken. For in this silence, I find not emptiness, but eternity, not loneliness, but love. And when I walk back into the noise of the world, let the stillness within me speak the language of grace, quietly but unforgettably, wherever I go. Father, from the silence you have taught me to cherish, I have come to understand that even in stillness, your light continues to move. It flows quietly through every moment, a presence that never dims, even when my eyes cannot see it. There were times when I mistook darkness for absence, when the night of my soul felt too deep to bear. But you were there, steady, patient, eternal. Your light is not like the world's light that flickers and fades. It is the kind that exists before the sun and outlives the stars. It does not need brilliance to be real. It only needs faith to be seen. Lord, teach me to trust in that unseen light when shadows grow long and familiar. Life has its seasons of brightness and of dimming, yet neither can separate me from you. Even when I walk through valleys where hope feels thin, there is a glow that hums beneath the despair, the quiet assurance that I am not abandoned. It is a light not of sight, but of spirit, a warmth that begins deep inside and refuses to be extinguished by circumstance. It reminds me that faith is not about seeing clearly, but about believing steadfastly, even when surrounded by uncertainty. God, I have often prayed for you to take the darkness away, but now I see that sometimes you ask me to walk through it with courage instead. The night has its own wisdom. It teaches me to listen differently, to see differently, to depend on you completely. The light you give does not always illuminate the whole path. It often reveals just enough for the next step. And perhaps that is mercy. For if I could see everything, I might never learn to trust. Your light asks me to move, not because I know the way, but because I know the one who walks beside me. Father, the light you offer is not loud or showy. It is like the lantern carried through a long night, soft, faithful, constant. It does not erase the darkness, but it keeps it from consuming me. It guides rather than blinds, and in its gentle glow, I learn that even the darkest times hold sacred purpose. The shadows that once frightened me now reveal depth I never saw before. I understand now that darkness is not your enemy, is your canvas, where you paint the first colors of dawn. Lord, there is a quiet miracle in realizing that your light dwells within me too. I am not merely a receiver of it. I am a bearer. Even when I feel broken or weary, the flame remains. It may flicker, but it does not go out. You entrusted each of us with this spark, a reflection of your eternal light, and it is our calling to carry it into the world. Help me tend to this inner flame with prayer, patience, and presence. When fear threatens to smother it, breathe courage back into my spirit. When sorrow dims it, remind me that your love cannot be darkened. God, I see now how your light works differently than the world expects. It does not always arrive with brilliance. Sometimes it reveals itself in the gentlest of ways, a quiet forgiveness, a calm after tears, a thought of kindness that interrupts bitterness. These small illuminations change everything. They turn bitterness into blessing, despair into direction. They are the kind of light that does not simply shine on the world, but shines through it, redeeming every moment it touches. Father, I want to live as one who carries light, not as one who fears the dark. Teach me to walk through uncertainty with steady grace, to bring warmth where others feel cold, to speak hope into spaces shadowed by doubt. Being light does not mean never knowing pain. It means refusing to let pain define the story. It means seeing beyond what is broken to what can still be healed. It means believing that even the smallest spark can start a new dawn. Lord, I remember now the times when others carried light for me, when I could not pray, but someone whispered my name in faith, when I could not stand, but someone's presence became shelter. That too is your light, moving through human hearts like fire passed from candle to candle. Let me become part of that chain of grace. Let my compassion become warmth for the weary, my patience a quiet glow for those lost in confusion. Let every act of kindness become a reflection of your eternal light. God, sometimes the world feels consumed by shadows, divisions, pain, and noise that drown out gentleness. Yet even then, light remains undefeated. A single star can pierce the night sky. A single act of mercy can shift a heart. Remind me that I do not need to illuminate the entire world. I only need to shine faithfully in the place where you have placed me. The power of light is not in its size, but in its nature. It always overcomes darkness. Even the smallest flame is greater than the deepest night. Father, when I doubt that my light matters, remind me of the truth that even a hidden lamp changes the space it inhabits. I do not have to be seen to be significant. I do not have to be loud to be strong. The quiet radiance of a heart at peace is enough to transform what surrounds it. You do not measure brightness in visibility, but in love. Every act of faith, no matter how unseen, becomes part of the greater light you weave through creation. Lord, your light not only leads me forward, it also reveals the beauty in what I once feared. The shadows that frightened me now serve as contrast, helping me see more clearly the grace that surrounds me. I no longer wish for a life without darkness. I only ask for eyes that see the light within it. Teach me to be grateful not just for the days of brightness, but also for the nights that deepen my faith. The stars only appear when the sky grows dark. God, as this new morning dawns, I realize that light does not always announce itself with clarity. It simply arrives. It slips quietly through windows, across water, into hearts that are ready to receive it. So it is with your love. It does not force. It invites. It does not demand. It restores. I want to meet this day with that same gentleness, to move through the world, not trying to shine by my own strength, but reflecting yours. For every kindness given, every grace extended, every moment of forgiveness offered becomes another ray of your eternal light. Father, may this light stay with me through every hour, every trial, every joy. Let it not merely illuminate my path, but transform my sight. Let me see people as you see them through the lens of mercy. Let me see myself as you see me through the lens of redemption. Let me see the world not as broken beyond repair, but as beloved beyond measure. For this is the truth that your light reveals, that no shadow can outlast love, and no darkness can silence hope. Lord, as I walk onward, may I carry this light not only for myself, but for those who have forgotten that it exists. Let it shine through my presence, my patience, my words, my silences. Let it remind others that even in the longest night, there is a dawn waiting, and when my own faith feels small, remind me that I do not have to see the sun to know it will rise. The light that never leaves is not a promise for tomorrow. It is a presence for now, steady and eternal, burning quietly within the soul that believes. Father, as I walk in the light that never leaves, I begin to feel its warmth shining on places within me that I once kept hidden, the spaces where old hurts lingered like shadows. The closer I draw to your light, the more clearly I see the weight I still carry. I realize that freedom does not come only from what I overcome outside of me, but from what I release within me. Forgiveness, I am learning, is not a single act, but a lifelong surrender, a choice to unclench the heart and trust that love can heal what justice cannot. Lord, teach me to forgive not because others deserve it, but because my soul cannot live in peace without. Bitterness is a silent thief. It steals joy, dulls compassion, and blinds the eyes to beauty. Holding on to resentment is like clutching broken glass. It only cuts deeper the longer I keep it. Forgiveness does not excuse what was wrong, but it releases me from being defined by it. It turns wounds into wisdom and pain into passage. Help me understand that to forgive is not to forget, but to remember with grace instead of anger. God, there are memories that still sting when I think of them, words spoken carelessly, promises broken, betrayals I did not see coming. I have prayed for you to take away the pain, yet I now see that sometimes you ask me to walk through it gently until it softens into compassion. Forgiveness begins not with feeling, but with willingness, the courage to open my clenched hands even when they tremble. I cannot rewrite the past, but I can choose not to live imprisoned by it. You remind me that every act of forgiveness is a doorway through which your mercy enters. Father, sometimes the hardest person to forgive is myself. I have carried guilt for things I said, for choices I made, for the times I fell short of who I wanted to be. I have whispered forgiveness for others, but withheld it from my own soul, as if my mistakes were too heavy for your grace. But you never asked for perfection, only for repentance and return. Help me to receive my own forgiveness, to believe that your mercy is greater than my shame. Let me live not as one condemned, but as one redeemed. Lord, teach me that forgiveness is not weakness, it is divine strength. It takes courage to bless those who wounded me, to wish peace for those who never apologized, to let go without closure. Yet in doing so, I mirror you. When you were rejected, you did not retaliate. When you were betrayed, you still loved. That is the kind of forgiveness I long to grow into, not a shallow tolerance, but a deep release that transforms bitterness into blessing. Let my heart learn to echo the compassion that once saved me. God, there are moments when forgiveness feels impossible. Some wounds run deep, and the pain becomes part of my story. But even then, you whisper that nothing is beyond your redemption. You do not ask me to pretend it did not hurt. You ask me to trust that it can be healed. Forgiveness does not erase justice, it transcends it. It allows me to stop drinking from the cup of anger and begin tasting peace again. Each time I choose grace over resentment, I take one step closer to freedom. Father, I want to forgive in the same way you forgive me, fully, freely, without condition. Help me to release not only the obvious offenses, but also the quiet grievances that have settled into the corners of my heart. The small disappointments, the subtle rejections, the misunderstandings that I let fester instead of resolve. These little stones become heavy over time, and they keep me from walking lightly through life. Sweep them away. Lord, Let forgiveness become the rhythm of my soul, not an occasional act, but a way of living. Lord, I also want to understand that forgiveness is not always reconciliation. There are relationships that cannot be restored, and that too can be holy. Forgiveness frees me to love from a distance, to wish peace without reopening wounds. It sets both souls free, the one who forgives and the one forgiven, to grow in different directions under the same sky of grace. Let me release the need to be understood, to be right, to be vindicated. The truth does not need my defense. It rests securely in you. God, help me to forgive the world, to the systems that fail, the injustices that persist, the cruelty that seems endless. It is easy to become cynical, to harden my heart against the pain of what I cannot control. But cynicism is a slow death of compassion, and you call me to live with a soft heart, even in a harsh world. Let forgiveness widen my capacity for love, not close it. Let it give me strength to work for goodness without being poisoned by hatred. Father, I have seen how forgiveness transforms not just hearts, but generations. A single act of mercy can break chains that have bound families for decades. When bitterness ends with me, peace begins beyond me. Teach me that my forgiveness may become someone else's healing, that by releasing my pain, I create space for grace to move through others. The world changes not only through grand miracles, but through small mercies multiplied. Lord, forgiveness also teaches humility. It reminds me that I, too, have needed it countless times. How easily I forget that I have been the source of pain for others. Even unintentionally. Let me never withhold from another the same mercy I have so often received. When pride tempts me to keep score, remind me that love does not count offenses. It keeps no record of wrongs. True freedom lies not in having the last word, but in choosing not to speak it. God, forgiveness is a kind of resurrection. It brings life back to places that seemed beyond hope. When I forgive, I breathe again. I open the windows of my heart and let your light in where darkness once lived. I do not do this alone. It is your spirit within me that gives me the strength to release. The power to forgive is not human. It is divine, flowing through human hands. And in that flow, I find the truest reflection of your love. Father, as this day unfolds, may I move with the quiet strength of forgiveness guiding every step. Let me forgive quickly, love deeply, and remember gently. Let me not return harm for harm, but respond to pain with peace. Every time I choose to forgive, I am choosing freedom, not only for myself, but for the world around me. For where forgiveness lives, hatred cannot take root, and where grace reigns, peace can finally breathe. Lord, let forgiveness be the language of my life, the soft answer that breaks the chain of anger, the open hand that releases what was meant to bind. Let me carry this freedom like light, gentle yet unbreakable, into every corner of my soul and every encounter I face. And when I falter, remind me that forgiveness, like faith, begins again each day, a daily surrender that leads unfailingly back to love. Lord, after the gentle work of forgiveness, I feel something beginning to stir, a quiet renewal, like the first breath of spring after a long winter. It is not loud or immediate, but steady and sure, like sunlight melting frost one drop at a time. Forgiveness cleared the ground of my soul. And now, in that cleared space, life begins to bloom again. Renewal is not about returning to who I was. It is about becoming who I am meant to be. You are not restoring me to my past self, but reshaping me for what is ahead. Father, teach me to recognize renewal even when it comes disguised as change. Sometimes the soil of my life must be turned, the familiar broken apart before new roots can take hold. Growth rarely feels graceful. It often feels like undoing. Yet in every unraveling, there is your hand, waving something new and sacred. Renewal is not the denial of what was lost, but the transformation of it. The pieces of my old self are not discarded, they are redeemed, molded into something stronger, softer, more aware. God, I see now that renewal begins within long before it shows outwardly. It starts with the decision to hope again, to lift my eyes when everything around me still looks barren. Hope is the seed, faith is the soil, love is the light that helps it grow. Some mornings, it feels fragile, this hope barely a whisper. But you do not require my strength. You only ask for my willingness. And as I offer that, you breathe life into what was weary. The heart that once felt like a ruin becomes a garden again. Lord, there were seasons when I thought would never feel joy again, when grief had made its home in me. But now I understand that joy does not erase sorrow. It grows beside it. Renewal is not the absence of scars, but the ability to live freely with them. My tears were not wasted, they watered the soil of compassion. My pain was not punishment, it was preparation. You never left me in the ashes. You waited there until I was ready to rise. Renewal begins not when everything changes, but when I do. Father, help me see renewal not as a single event, but as a continual rhythm. The world lives by this pattern. The tide goes out and returns. Trees shed their leaves only to bloom again. The dawn follows every dusk. So it is with the soul. Even when I cannot see progress, life is still moving through me. Every breath is a beginning. Every small act of kindness, every choice to trust again, every moment of peace reclaimed is proof that resurrection is not just a promise, it is a daily reality. God, I have learned that renewal requires release. Just as a seed cannot grow unless it breaks open, I cannot be made new while clinging to what no longer fits. You are teaching me to let go of yesterday's victories as much as its wounds. Even blessings can become burdens when I refuse to move forward. Renewal asks me to travel light, to carry only faith and gratitude into the unknown. I do not want to live in yesterday's grace when today's grace is already waiting. Lord, sometimes renewal comes through rest. The world glorifies constant motion, but you remind me that stillness is sacred. Renewal does not always mean doing more. Sometimes it means allowing yourself to do the work within me. In rest, I remember that I am not sustained by effort, but by love. My worth is not measured by productivity, but by presence. Renewal begins when I stop striving to prove and start allowing myself to be. You are not asking me to achieve renewal, only to receive it. Father, the beauty of renewal is that it turns even the smallest beginnings into miracles. A heart once closed begins to open again. A voice once silenced by fear begins to speak truth. A weary soul finds the strength to dream. Renewal whispers, "Try once more." And somehow, I do. The past no longer feels like a chain, it becomes a chapter. I no longer mourn what I have lost. I thank you for what it taught me. I no longer fear the future. I trust you to fill it with meaning. God, let this renewal not be just for me. Let it flow through me into the lives around me. A renewed spirit cannot stay still, it radiates warmth, hope, and compassion. When my heart is whole, I become a vessel of healing for others. Let my presence remind those in despair that new beginnings are still possible. Let my words plant seeds of faith in those who have forgotten how to believe. Let my actions reflect the truth that renewal is not a distant miracle, but a daily mercy. Lord, I know that renewal will not always feel easy. There will be days when progress seems invisible, when I fall back into old fears or habits. Yet even then, your grace remains constant, patiently reshaping me from within. Renewal is not perfection, it is persistence. It is the gentle promise that no matter how many times I falter, I can always begin again. Every sunrise, every breath, every heartbeat is another chance to live with love. Father, let me carry this awareness into the day. When I encounter challenges, remind me that they are not interruptions to renewal. They are part of it. When I face disappointment, let me see the lesson within it. When I feel tired, remind me that rest is not failure. It is fuel. Let renewal become the lens through which I view life, so that I may see growth even in loss, grace even in endings, and light even in waiting. God, as I step forward, I no longer ask to return to what once was. I ask instead to be transformed into what is still becoming. I trust that you are not finished with me, that each season carries its own purpose, and that every broken branch can still bloom again. Renewal is not about escaping the past, but redeeming it. Not about avoiding change, but embracing it as the language through which you speak new life into the world. Lord, let this renewal deepen until it touches everything: my thoughts, my choices, my relationships, my dreams. Let it teach me to live lightly, love deeply, and forgive quickly. Let it remind me that beginnings are not rare. They happen with every moment I choose hope over despair, faith over fear, love over bitterness. For in every breath I take, in every act of surrender, in every quiet yes to life again, I find you there, the unending source of renewal that never ceases to create beauty from even the most broken things. Father, the quiet of this moment feels like the soft exhale after a long prayer, the stillness that follows surrender. Every word, every tear, every whisper offered before you has been gathered like morning dew, resting on the petals of faith. I do not come to end this prayer, but to breathe it onward, to let it live in the rhythm of my days, in the silent spaces where gratitude replaces fear. The journey that began in darkness now stands at the edge of dawn, and though the light is tender, it is enough to see the path ahead. Lord, you have walked with me through shadow and storm, through doubt and discovery. I began this prayer searching for peace, and in your presence I found something deeper, belonging. The world has not changed its noise or its uncertainty, but my heart has learned the language of stillness. I no longer beg the day to be easy. I simply ask to meet it with grace. For grace is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of strength that does not come from me. It is the quiet knowing that I am never alone, even when the road is long and unseen. God, I think of every morning that will follow this one. The alarm will sound, the world will rush, and the mind will scatter. Yet somewhere within, I will carry this sacred calm. Each breath can be a prayer. Each step can be an offering. The ordinary becomes holy when seen through the lens of gratitude. Renewal is no longer a moment, it is a way of living. It is in the forgiveness I offer myself, in the patience I extend to others, in the hope I choose when it feels simplest to despair. Father, thank you for the lessons that bloomed in silence. Thank you for teaching me that peace is not found in escape, but in presence. I once thought prayer was about asking, but now I see it is about remembering who I am, who you are, and what love makes possible. Every time I pause, every time I listen, every time I choose to begin again, I am praying. This realization does not close a door, it opens one wider, inviting life itself to become the conversation between my soul and yours. Lord, I release the need to understand everything. Mystery no longer frightens me, it comforts me. It means you are still here, still creating, still writing the unseen chapters of grace. I do not need to see the whole horizon to trust the direction of your light. It is enough to know that morning always comes, no matter how long the night. Faith is not a feeling, but a movement, a small, steady turning toward hope even when it trembles. God, let this final reflection linger in the hearts of all who have shared this journey. May they feel your nearness not only in grand miracles, but in quiet gestures, the warmth of a cup between their hands, the sound of laughter, the sight of light filtering through the curtains. These are your daily sacraments, reminders that holiness dwells within the simplest moments. You are not far away, you are here, woven into the breath of every living thing. Father, pray that whoever listens to these words finds a piece of themselves mirrored here. Let them know that their prayers, too, are heard, even when spoken in silence. Let them sense that healing does not always announce itself, it unfolds quietly, like dawn through mist. Let them remember that no brokenness is too deep, no distance too wide, no story too far gone to be rewritten by love. This, more than anything, is the truth I carry forward, that redemption is never out of reach. Lord, I lift a prayer for every soul standing on the edge of a new day. May courage rise like sunlight through uncertainty. May kindness soften the edges of every encounter. May forgiveness loosen what the heart still holds too tightly. And may joy, gentle, patient joy, find its way back into even the heaviest of mornings. Let each listener remember that faith is not a destination, but a daily awakening, an unfolding trust in the goodness that never ceases to flow. God, as I close my eyes, I see the light changing. The night fades without fanfare, giving way to the first shimmer of dawn. The world is not yet loud. It is breathing. waiting, hopeful. This is how faith feels, not loud, not grand, but steady and alive, pulsing like the quiet heartbeat of creation. I want to live in that rhythm, unhurried, aware, anchored in love. I want to meet each sunrise as a reminder that life renews itself endlessly, and that within that renewal lies my purpose: to be present, to love, to believe again and again. Father, thank you for being the constant thread through every chapter, for guiding my heart when it wandered, for whispering truth when my spirit faltered, for holding me with a tenderness I could never earn. If these words have found a home in another heart, may they continue their journey, carrying peace wherever they go. Prayer does not end with a final word, it begins again in whoever hears it. It becomes their own song, their own breath, their own dawn. To you who have stayed until this moment, thank you for walking beside me through each reflection, each whisper, each unfolding of grace. This has not just been a prayer, it has been a shared heartbeat between souls seeking light. If these words have touched you, I invite you to share your thoughts and prayers below. Tell your story, offer your hope, speak your gratitude. Let this space become a circle of faith that grows wider with every voice. If you wish to continue this journey of peace and renewal, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel, to share this video with someone who may need a reminder that they are not alone, and to return each day to nurture your spirit. Together, we keep faith alive, not as an idea, but as a living presence in the rhythm of ordinary life. May your days be filled with quiet strength, your heart open to kindness, and your path guided by grace. And as the morning light spills gently across the earth, let this prayer drift with its soft, luminous, unending like a breeze over calm waters, like the hush before dawn, like the promise of a new day just beginning.